Well, good afternoon, everybody. Brian Wilson here, your friend and radio buddy for another show. 4 hours of compelling radio. We're really glad to have you along for our Friday show, and of course, a reminder that coming up at 4:35 and 5:35, your chance to sound off with Phone Your Farb Friday. Whatever's on your mind, we'll take those calls coming up a little bit later. Well, we are still reeling from the events of earlier this week, trying to get to the bottom. And it's just going to be a few more days where we're going to be talking about this quite a bit. I don't think, actually, this is going to leave us anytime soon following the shooting Monday at Covenant School, and 6 individuals were lost through the actions of a person whose actions are just, it's hard to understand what the motivation could possibly be. Funeral services are even beginning at this hour for some of the victims. Right now, I think they're having services for Evelyn Dykehouse at Woodmont Christian Church, right there where it all went down, or nearby where it started to go down. So we are still going to be going through that for the next few days, as we each and every day we're going to stop and remember the lives of these people who lost their lives through no fault of their own. They simply showed up to go to school and do their jobs, and because of the nonsensical actions of an individual, those lives have been lost forever. A lot of stuff to go through here that I want to talk about. First and foremost, I want to go back over to what we heard from in the previous hour. Matt Murphy talking to Brent Fiddler, who was one of the people who, well, I guess he was the person who trained these teachers. And by the way, by all accounts, the training really stuck, and the teachers remembered the training, and they went to it to the nth degree. They did everything that they were supposed to do. And no classrooms were breached, we are told. And even though, can you imagine what it was like as the shooter was in the building and actually firing into at least a couple of these classrooms? What a scary situation this must have been.
I can't get into a ton of detail, but I will tell you, she fired, I don't know how many rounds at 2 rooms in particular. And I tried to breach based on where some of those rounds were placed on that door, and she didn't get in. There were students and teachers in both those rooms, and the fact that they could perform under that amount of stress when there's 6 rounds flying through their door into their classroom, and they're able to, they had already locked down at that point, but they're able to get their kids out of the line of fire and keep them there under that amount of stress is just unbelievable to me.
It's unbelievable to everyone. I mean, talk about this for a moment. Although we have a sad loss of life, one wonders how bad it could have been had it not been so many things gone right. I mean, the police officers arrived within a very reasonable amount of time. And once they got there on the grounds, within 2 minutes and 13 seconds, I think it is, they neutralized the shooter. Textbook bravery and heroism on display. The dispatchers, as we heard yesterday, we played out some of the 911 calls, did everything exactly as they should have done. This is a sign of good training. And for people responding in the moment to that training, you go over it, so that when things like this start to happen, it's muscle memory. It is instinctive. You don't have to think about it. You know what you're supposed to do. And the same must be said about many of those teachers who, knew exactly what they had heard because of the training that they had, knew to lock down the doors and make sure that you could not breach those doors. They knew that they should pull the shades on the windows. They knew where to put the children within the classroom to make them as safe as possible. And Brink also said that a lot of the classrooms, they found that the teachers had gone and gotten the shooting kits out. There are each classroom equipped with a shooting kit so that if somebody was hurt, you had some chance of providing some medical care until they could be transported and the paramedics would arrive. It's textbook. It's textbook. And so many things went right on a day when a whole lot, of course, went wrong. And you just have to say, job well done. I hope that these teachers understand that they are heroes as well. The police officers are heroes. The dispatchers are heroes. But sadly, even in those moments, 6 precious lives were lost. 3 precious 9-year-old children who went to school thinking, well, you know what? It's going to be another day at school. I'll have a plate lunch. I'll go out on the playground, play with my friends. There were even some children who knew exactly and remembered their training as well. They ran for the wood line into a nearby fire department, which was exactly what they had been told to do. So, again, as we learn more and more, it's beginning to look as if the fact that this organization had gone through shooter training and that the police department responded and responded in what seems to be perfect textbook fashion, and that the teachers did everything that they were supposed to do, prevented what could have been a greater loss of life. As for the shooter, which I don't want to dwell on this too long, we have not heard anything more about whether or not they're going to release the manifesto. And again, I understand this is controversial. I do get that. I completely understand why some people don't want to see it, but I believe that there is much to be learned here, and there are many questions that we have about that. And I'm going to take them at their word, or the word that's been, sort of leaking out is that they do indeed plan to release this manifesto. There is no reason for it not to be released, given the fact that there are no charges pending, because there's not going to be a trial. And so I hope that we will see that. I hope that we don't wait too long. One thing I want to clean up, and that is it has to do with the fact that we have heard the police say that the weaponry was purchased locally and legally. I want to just explore that for a moment. This is from sarahcarter.com. Some of the listeners to this program have sent me messages suggesting the same thing, and they are correct. Nashville Police Chief John Drake held a press conference Tuesday during which he said the parents of the Nashville Christian school shooter told police their child had been at a doctor's care for emotional disorder. The parents reportedly told police that they believed their daughter should not own guns and did not believe that she had any. They believed their child had purchased one gun and then sold it. The shooter reportedly told her parents she had sold the firearm. As we know, that the 28-year-old shooter was born a woman, identified as a male, wanted to be identified by using male pronouns. And while the police chief did not divulge information on the emotional disorder, which doctor was providing the shooting care, or whether the shooter was on any medication, the media is reporting that the shooter legally obtained the weapons, but there is mounting evidence that she should not have been able to purchase those guns legally. The shooter should have been legally ruled a potential threat to herself or others. Drake said his department would have tried to take the shooter's gun away if they'd caught wind of her intentions, but as it stands, they had no background on this person. They'd never been in contact with this individual. But under federal law, it is illegal for any person to sell or otherwise dispose of any firearm or ammunition to any person knowing or having reasonable cause to believe that person, including a juvenile who's been adjudicated as a mental defective or has been committed to any mental institution. And then there's the question about did she have to check the box that said that she was not under a doctor's care for any of these things. I think that there is a question as to whether or not you can say that the guns were legally purchased. If it's the same thing with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden strung out on drugs. He checked the box. All of a sudden, you have to wonder, did he have that gun illegally because he wasn't honest in filling out the forms? So just a point there that we wanted to clean up. Other stuff that's going on. You heard Brink say in the last hour that they had planned at this school to apply a product to the glass to make it not impenetrable but very difficult to penetrate. And there are many others who say that ballistic glass could have prevented the Nashville school shooting. I can assure you, without any doubt, that in the Nashville area and around the country, people who have seen how the shooter entered this building are now rethinking whether or not their building is secure from such an attack. And I have a feeling that there are a lot of people who are going to be buying ballistic glass or bulletproof glass and maybe even these products, rethinking their security plan because literally this person was able to shoot through the door and get in within 12 seconds. So that was one thing that perhaps could have been done in hindsight. Again, you don't know what you don't know until it happens, but I can tell you that many people will be looking at their systems and their plan to see if they can toughen up the exterior of their school. The problem here is you're talking about not only a school but a church. And on one hand, a church, you want to be open and accessible. That's what churches are supposed to be. On the other hand, if it's a school, you don't want it to be open and accessible. And therein, I think, lies a dilemma that I think is going to have to be answered on the side of doing what you have to do to make these schools safe, even if they are church schools. And this from Fox News, but it's about CBS News. A former teammate of Audrey Hale, the suspected shooter at the Covenant School, told a sheriff's office non-emergency operator that she had received concerning Instagram messages from Hale. But CBS News is reportedly ordering staff not to use the term transgender to describe the shooter responsible for Monday's horrific shooting that left 6 dead. Police identified the shooter as a 28-year-old transgender and did not rule out that gender identity may have been a factor. The chief said, in fact, it may well have been a factor. But network executives at CBS issued a memo to employees urging them to stay away from such coverage, according to the New York Post. The shooter's gender identity has not been confirmed by CBS News. As such, we should avoid any mention of it, as we have no known relevance to the crime. It may well have. If you listen to what the police chief said, it may well have some relevance to the crime, which is one of the reasons why we would like to have the manifesto so that we can understand better what was going on in the demented mind of this individual. Again, what this is one of the things I think is probably at play here, and I hope that I'm wrong about this. I fear it may be at play, is that they are holding back the manifesto because there probably is some stuff that has to do with this person's gender identity and the struggle that they were going through, the treatments they may have been receiving. And they don't want that to be the narrative. I think we need to understand what happened. You learn from these incidents by knowing everything that you can know and applying what you learned so that you are ready for the next thing that might have. What you want to do is prevent the next thing from happening. So I don't understand why you would shy away from what the police chief has said, that indeed this may well have had something to do with her motivation for carrying out a horrendous attack. More to talk about with regard to the protest at the Capitol that are semi-related to all of this. But right now it's 21 minutes past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk. When's the last time you went to Legends Steakhouse and had a good steak? Well, it's too long, my friend, way too long. I mean, Johnny Fleeman's special seasoning on those steaks, it's pretty good. Maybe you want to think about going there for lunch sometime because I'm telling you, they put on a good spread. Meat and two is what they call it. You know what that means around here. You get a choice of your meat, fried pork chops, Smoky Mountain meatloaf, fried catfish, slow-cooked pot roast with gravy, just to name a few. And then 14 different vegetables in casseroles to choose from for you, too. Broccoli casserole, turnip greens, bourbon glazed apples, fried green tomatoes. Well, what I'm talking about here, I mean, I think you've picked up on this by now, is it's just good home cooking, the kind of stuff that Mama used to make. In fact, these recipes came from Johnny Fleeman's mom, and he borrowed the recipe book about 30 years ago, and, well, they just never gave it back. Legend Steakhouse, multiple locations, good food at a fair price. Go to legendsteakhouse.com for the locations and to do your online menu ordering. They've been around for 34 years. I think you're going to love your next visit to Legend Steakhouse.
Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton joined the Matt Murphy show today and discussed the actions of those three Democratic representatives at the state capitol, plus another march in wake of the shooting scheduled for next week. That and more 30 minutes after the hour right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, let me get through this part of it pretty quickly because I want to play out some sound from Cameron Sexton earlier today. From the politicalinsider.com, they point to a video of the protesters at the Tennessee Capitol. They were there yesterday saying, well, we're anti-gun protesters, and we think that there needs to be some change in the laws, etc. But it's pointed out by the folks at Breitbart that at one point they were honoring the dead, and they included among the dead that they were honoring because of gun violence, the shooter. Yes. I don't know what else to say about that. TBI says that they're aware of a post from a trans activist demanding violence against Tennessee law enforcement. And this was initially posted on TikTok. It's over on Twitter. And they say, yes, we're aware of it. And how concerning is this? The Trans Day of Vengeance event that was supposed to take place in Washington, D.C., apparently has been canceled. I will not go on because of what they call a credible threat to life and safety. And boy, I tell you, I couldn't be happier that thing's not going to go forward. And then there was this thing yesterday where they tried to take over the House chamber, and Cameron Sexton, Speaker of the House, was talking about that earlier today on the Matt Murphy Show.
What they really wanted at the end, from what we understand from people inside their own caucus, is they wanted to be arrested. They wanted the troopers to come in and arrest them so that they could walk out in handcuffs. That's the mentality that they have. Unfortunately, they weren't there really to honor the families. They were there more to make a spectacle and hopefully become part of the news, and we did not allow them to become part of the news on that day. They really wanted to storm into the chamber, and those three members really wanted to do a sit-down. We had heard that was their goal. And with the bullhorn and everything else, it leads you to believe that what we were hearing was absolutely correct. And they took some people who were there for peaceful purposes, some people who were not, and then they tried to create an insurrection, a revolt, a rebellion against authority, against government, and they decided that they were going to occupy the House floor. It never happened before in the entire history of the state of Tennessee. So when you have something like that, you have to respond. And if you do not, then what does that tell? What's the precedent that you set for that? And the thing that bothers me the most is when the Democrats had their press conference, their leadership team said that those three individuals should have no repercussions, no discipline for their actions on the House floor. That's ridiculous. I even think their caucus doesn't believe that. But that's what they told the media in their presser.
What are the options for the House of Representatives in terms of discipline of these three members?
Well, there's all kinds of stuff. There's things that the body can do, and then there's things that I can do by myself. The things that I could do as speakers is remove them from committees, remove them from their offices, remove them from a variety of things. That is my ability as speaker. The body as a whole can do a vote of censure, and they can do a vote of expulsion.
Do you believe that the actions of the three individuals that took over the House of Representatives yesterday on the floor rises to the level of expulsion?
It rises to the level at least having that as a consideration. I mean, you have to take a look at it. I'm not going to lay out my hand on what we think we're going to do and how we proceed. I'm going to continue to meet with Republican caucus members and talk to Democrat caucus members. But it does rise to that level. Whether or not the body, that's not my individual decision. That is a vote of the body that takes 2/3 vote. If the body makes that determination, then I guess that will happen.
Well, I got to tell you, you're talking about three members, Democrat members, who were basically trying to take over the floor of the House and let the protesters in for a sit-in. Justin Pearson, Justin Jones, and Gloria Johnson were the ones who are being looked at, and it sounds to me as if there's going to be some repercussions, but I hope they go all the way to the mat on it. It was completely out of line and against the rules of that body. 3:30 now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30, I'm Mac Morey with your top story. 75 degrees, a cloudy Friday, about to be a wet and stormy one as well. Expecting strong hardline winds paired with thunderstorms, a possible tornado. The severe weather threat has been upgraded to a level 3 out of 5 in Middle Tennessee. If you just go west of Dixon, that level goes up to a 4 out of 5. Weather and traffic coming up in just a few minutes. Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton joined the Matt Murphy Show today and discussed the events of yesterday when three Democratic representatives, you just heard Brian Wilson talking about them, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson, acted out of House rules and amplified protesters at the state capitol.
But, there were people there who were peaceful and who were there for the purpose they were. Unfortunately, that's not always the case when you have that big crowd. And you had those three members were going in and out of the chamber the whole day, talking in the gallery to those up there, taking pictures with them, leading the chants when they were outside, when they were inside. and really trying to add energy and to what was going on, and they continue to add energy throughout.
He said those three legislators even tried to say that they had taken back the House chamber on Twitter as they made political speeches. They tried to rile up these protesters. And in connection with that, there's a march scheduled for Monday at 10:13 a.m. That was right when the police received their first calls of a shooting happening at Covenant School on Monday. It's called March for Our Lives. The nonprofit group is trying to get students to walk out of classes in March at that exact time. This group formed after the school shooting in Parkland, Florida in 2018. The group said on Twitter in calling for the walkout, quote, "It's not drag queens, it's not books, it's not black history, it's not trans rights. Guns are killing kids," end quote. The walk-in rallies will last for 1 hour. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at Busy Bee, and boy, do you need their help this time of year, if because the weather, I mean, some days it's hot, some days it's cold, some days you need heating, some days you need air conditioning, all days you've got to have a good plumbing system that works, right? Well, they can help you with all of that. If you have a problem, just give them a call at 775-7833. They'll buzz right over to your hive and try to solve your problem. If you need to get to a replacement system, and that's not always needed, but if you do need one, know that you're not going to find a better value than at Busy Bee, and they can offer 12 months, same as cash. You might want to become a member of the Beehive Club. You get 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing, no overtime charges 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it, everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now you have 2 things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
"38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Brian Wilson, your Brendan radio buddy in the chair and on the air. Great event last night out at Murfreesboro at the Parthenon Grill. Good to see everybody out there. Thank you so much for coming out. And it's always good to meet people who listen to this radio station and chat with them and find out what's on their minds. But a great time, I think, was had by all. Want to remind you can listen to the air listen to the drive on the air on this quaint technology we call FM radio, which is in full stereo sound. Not one speaker, but two.
Don't do it.
Okay, I won't.
You were reaching for the knob.
I was
weren't you?
reaching for the knob, and you knew where I was going. All right, I won't do it. I won't do this thing over here and then this thing over here. I won't do that. Okay. You can also watch it on Super Talk TV, Facebook, our Facebook page, our Twitter page, YouTube, and the ever popular Twitch. And find today's show prep at yourfarb.com and find the link to yourfarb.com at 997wtn.com. And a reminder that at 4:35, 5:35 today, as we do every Friday, Phone Your Farb Friday. And then in the 6 o'clock hour, a special thing's going to happen. It's never happened since all the time that I've built this studio. I've never had a guest in my studio.
Oh,
That's exciting.
An actual guest will be coming and visiting. He'll be sitting right next to Larry Goatlin over there, my metallic goat.
not too close.
Yeah, no, not too close. But that'll happen in the 6 o'clock hour. So you might want to.
Fun.
Well, it means if everything goes well.
And it's not Grogu. You're not talking about Grogu.
No, and Grogu's been on a
Yeah,
lot.
right.
Yeah, no.
Gotcha.
Grogu is with Cabana Wife today, and she, when Cabana Wife is here, I'm just the other human.
Yeah. You're the big one.
Yeah, but I mean the Cabana Wife, you should see the greeting that Cabana Wife gets when she comes home. And when I come home, it's like, oh, it's you again. Okay, thanks. Well, occasionally I feed her, and I guess she's grateful for that.
Yeah.
But Cabana Wife, of course, is that dog's favorite. It's her dog, not mine. So I want to talk a little bit while I've got a moment or two about where we are with regard to this election. We'll get into the president being indicted and what all that means, and all the latest on that coming up in the next hour. We will get into greater detail about what is happening with Joe Biden and those investigations as well. But I just wanted to take a moment to talk about, how things have changed in the last few days with regard to support for the two top candidates. For one thing, Trump is solidifying his support among Republican primary voters, it seems. All the polls seem to show this. Trump's lead grows in GOP primary race, now over 50% support. That's a thing. Former President Trump has expanded his lead in the Republican primary race, while Joe Biden continues to face uncertainty among Democrat primary voters. Republican primary voters were read a list of 15 announced and potential candidates for the 2024 nomination. The survey released on Wednesday finds Trump has doubled his lead since February and is up by 30 points over Ron DeSantis. It is Ron DeSantis is 30 points behind. It's 54-24. In the Republican primary, that's right, Ron DeSantis is 30 points behind Donald Trump. And everybody else is way behind Ron DeSantis. Trump made gains among almost every key demographic except for white men with a college degree, where DeSantis is up by 12 points. When asked who their second choice would be, Trump primary voters said they would back DeSantis, and the Florida governor's primary voters would return the favor and go for Trump. How about that? The rumor that Trump was going to be indicted, of course, turned out not to be a rumor. He did get indicted. I don't think this hurts him one whit with Republican voters, not one whit, but we'll get into that in the next hour or so. Here you go. How are you going to vote in the upcoming election? Will you vote in the Democrat primary or the Republican primary? The latest numbers suggest that 39% said they would vote in the Democrat primary, and 42% said they would vote in the Republican primary. Those numbers have changed slightly. 15% said they would vote in neither, and 4% said they didn't know. What is the most important thing according to the Fox News poll that came out? What's the most important thing for you when you cast your ballot? 73% said the views of the candidate. 18% said the chances of winning, and both about 8%. Democrat primary, who would you like to see? Would you like to see Biden as the nominee? 44%. Would you like to see someone else? 52%. This is among Democrats. Among Republicans, would you keep Trump as the nominee? 78% said yes. 15% said they would like to see someone else. What does that tell you? It looks like we're talking about Trump being the Republican nominee. Again, if the election were held today and these numbers are accurate, it seems like Trump will get the nomination. Now, this, of course, these numbers were in the field just before the indictment, but like I said, it's my considered opinion that doesn't change one whit the former president's numbers among Republicans. Interesting to note that, more people in the Democrat Party want to see someone else other than Biden, but it seems, the way I've got it pegged right now, that Biden is the guy who will likely get the nomination. So here we go. And here's the interesting thing. You can look back as to between February and March, 1 month. What a difference a month makes for Donald Trump. In February, 43% of the people who were surveyed said that they believed that Donald Trump would be the nominee. 54% now believe that. So, and that's happened, 11 points in 1 month. That's movement. That's real movement. And by the way, this poll, very much in line with other polling data that is out there. Ron DeSantis, in February of this year, 28% said that they would choose DeSantis. Now it's only 24%. Pence, 6%. I don't even know why they throw this name in there. Liz Cheney, 3%. Nikki Haley, 3%. How would you like to be Nikki Haley and know that you have the same support that Liz Cheney does? Greg Abbott, 2%. These are names that are just, they're just going through a whole list of names here. Chris Christie, 1%. Asa Hutchison of Arkansas, 1%. Kristi Noem, 1%. Mike Pompeo, 1%. Vivek Ramaswamy, 1%. Chris Sununu of New Hampshire, 1%. Tim Scott doesn't register. Glenn Youngkin of Virginia doesn't register. Don't know, 3%. That's how it pans out. So, at this point, the nomination is Trump's to lose. Trump's to lose. And then let's just, while I've got that, one of the things I love about Fox News polling, I remember when I worked there, is you would get a memo and they'd say, hey, we're about to put a poll in the field and we're going to start asking questions. Do you have a question you would like to add to the poll? And so there's a lot of great, if you dig into these things, you find a lot of really fascinating information. Thinking about Hunter Biden's business dealings with Ukraine and China, do you think he did something illegal? Did he do something unethical but not illegal, or do you think he hasn't done anything wrong? Did something illegal, 43%, and this is Democrats and Republicans. Did something unethical but not illegal? Well, that's 33%. One way or the other, those two numbers come to what, 76%. Hasn't done anything wrong, 19. Okay, who are those people? You know who they are. Related to his son's dealings, do you think Joe Biden did something illegal? Did he do something unethical but not illegal? Or do you think he hasn't done anything seriously wrong? Did something illegal? 36%. Did something unethical but not illegal? 28%. That number is going to be well above, well, in the 60s. Hasn't done anything wrong? 31%. Again, I think we know who that 31% is. And then thinking about the lawsuit facing Donald Trump, again, this was before the indictment came down yesterday. Did something illegal? 45% said so. This is, of course, Democrats and Republicans. Did something unethical but not illegal? 27%. Hasn't done anything seriously wrong? 25%. Again, I could be wrong, but we did sort of a snap focus group yesterday among the people who were with us there in the room in Murfreesboro, and I've talked to people on this radio show where we've opened up the phones and asked people, does it change your mind? And what I'm finding is that it's not changing the minds of Republican voters, that they see this as a political prosecution, a weaponization of the legal process, much as we have seen in other things that have been leveled against the former president of the United States. And I just don't think that they're buying into any idea that it's going to have an impact on how they vote. I think as we get closer, there is a question that will need to be asked and need to be thought about with Republican voters, and that is, okay, I know you support him, but can he be elected, is the question that I think there's going to be debate about. Republicans who support Donald Trump seem to support Donald Trump through hell or high water, and they care more about doing that because they support the man, and that there are those who say, but you know what, though I support his policies, I'm not sure he can be reelected. And I don't know what the answer to that is. Something that I think we're going to be talking about as we go forward. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be a little scary. And here's the thing, Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and help make any mid-course corrections that might be needed. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have somebody look over your shoulder and you can have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide that reassurance. It starts with a simple phone call. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. I mean, what do you have to lose except for the worry, that nagging worry? Get started today by calling 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path with all the T's crossed, all the I's being dotted. The number again, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away, and you can learn more by going to beaconcm.com.
The three Democratic legislators that riled up protesters at the state capitol yesterday in jeopardy of expulsion. Plus, preparation has begun for former President Donald Trump's arraignment next week. 4 o'clock right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Mac Morey. Greatly appreciate Mac Morey in the newsroom. Chris Weber in the control room, pushing all the blinky buttons that make this possible, as he does so well every day. Dow Jones Industrial today up 415 points. That's about 1.25%. S&P was up 58 points. That's almost a 1.5%. And the NASDAQ is up 1.75%, up 208 points. And this is the end of the first quarter. And so they say that NASDAQ has notched the best quarter since 2020. So, again, not all of the economic news is bad. Let's go to oil. Let's see. We haven't looked at oil in a while. Oil is up $1.29. West Texas Intermediate crude selling for $75 a barrel. Gold is down $11.60, selling for $1,986.10 an ounce. And crypto, which has been interesting to watch, up $435. Bitcoin now selling for $28,430. This brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Learn more at beaconcm.com. It's 3:58 on Super Talk. When it comes to home repairs, large home repairs, things like waterproofing and foundation, they can be a little scary. I mean, let's be honest about it, though. It could be something big. Yeah, I know. It could also be a small problem that will become a big problem if you don't take action now. Or you might find it's nothing at all to worry about. Bottom line is you need great advice from someone you trust, not somebody just out to sell you something. And that's United Structural Systems. Over 23,000 satisfied residential customers. They'll come out to your house. They'll take a look at what's going on. They'll give you their best advice, and they have a lot of experience, believe me. They can give you great advice. And then if you decide to go forward, you're not going to pay a penny until the job is done and you're completely satisfied. Financing is available. Lifetime warranties guaranteed for the life of the home. USS, the goal here is to take the stress out of home repair. They guarantee their best at USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama online at USSTN.com. Again, that's USSTN.com. Here's the number, 615-227-2275.
Four o'clock, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 75 degrees in Nashville. The temperature makes it feel like it could be nice, but this is all in preparation for a cold front and a storm that's headed in here tonight. Going to be hard, strong line winds, potentially severe thunderstorms paired with potential tornadoes. A tornado confirmed did touch down in Little Rock, Arkansas. That same storm system is headed west to east to Middle Tennessee. Got a level 3 out of 5 severe weather outlook for mid-state. If you just go west of Dixon, though, that moves up to a level 4 out of 5 on the severe weather threat. So we are monitoring all of that weather anywhere from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. More likely in the 9 o'clock range is when it'll get severe here. Complete weather and traffic coming up. Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton joined the Matt Murphy Show today and discussed the events of yesterday when 3 Democratic representatives, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson, acted out of House rules and had wrong motives when doing so. They may pay for it.
They wanted the troopers to come in and arrest them so that they could walk out in handcuffs. That's the mentality that they have. Unfortunately, they weren't there really to honor the families. They were there more to make a spectacle and hopefully become part of the news, and we did not allow them to become part of the news on that day. And we continue to finish the business of what we were supposed to be there for, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to take action in the future on those 3.
Sexton said they were trying to welcome ralliers on the House floors. They took selfies and added energy to the protest. He said these actions rise to the level of expulsion. A charity concert to be held, and then in connection, that there's a charity concert to be held in Nashville with celebrities including Eric and Jesse James Decker in attendance. And this will all benefit mental health services for the Covenant School after Monday's mass shooting. The Fund Recovery Charity Dinner and Concert will take place Tuesday, April 4th at 6 at the 1230 Club on Broadway in downtown Nashville. And this charity, again, will benefit mental health resources for teachers, students, families, and administrators that were impacted by Monday's tragedy. And in other news, preparations for former President Donald Trump's arraignment next week have begun. This comes after he was indicted by a grand jury in Manhattan yesterday.
Former President Trump and his legal team now preparing for a criminal court case following the grand jury indictment out of Manhattan. ABC News has learned that his arraignment will likely take place on Tuesday in New York City. Details are still sealed, but the jury was said to be focusing on hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels on alleged cover-up of an alleged affair during Trump's 2016 campaign. The court has not released those details. ABC's Jonathan Carl has more.
So much more will be found out once the indictment is unsealed, and it will be unsealed when he makes that first appearance in court for his arraignment. But the bottom line is he will simultaneously be a candidate for president and a criminal defendant. That's something we've never seen in terms of a major party candidate.
The former president is the first former president to face criminal charges and calls the indictment political persecution.
That was Michelle Franzen reporting. The White House says it has a long-standing policy of not commenting on any ongoing investigations or trying to steer clear of this conversation despite the obvious massive implications that it holds for the 2024 presidential race. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather upcoming. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Well, it's 7 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and this is hour number 2 of The Drive on a Friday. It's two things. It's the end of the week. It's the end of the month. It's the end of the quarter. The first quarter now, I don't know. Do people care about it being the end of the quarter?
I'm sure some people do.
Some people do. I don't know.
I don't.
It doesn't really have any impact on my life, but nonetheless, it's all those things. And now, you're supposed to end March. It's supposed to go out like a lamb, and we've got this weather that's sort of bearing down on us. I don't know if you heard, but sounds like Little Rock got hit pretty hard today with tornadoes, and so not to the degree we had, I think, in Mississippi, but nonetheless, bad weather in the South again. And we're supposed to be keeping one eye on the weather tonight.
Yeah, that's the same system that will be moving into this area. Yeah,
that's right. So keep an eye on the weather, be weather aware, one eye on the sky, and keep your radio charged up and ready to go. Keep your phone charged up. By the way, that's I am always amazed at people who don't keep their phone charged up. I've got a big battery pack on mine. I mean,
that's built into the case.
Yeah, it's built into the case, and I never run out of battery.
Yeah,
I mean, I never even come close. And if I forget one day to charge it, I got a whole nother day before I have to think about it. So I'm a big believer in making sure you keep your phone charged up. It's you never know when you're going to need it, and you never know when the power's going to go out. So there you go. So we'll watch all that, and a reminder that coming up at 35 minutes past the hours we do every Friday, and again at 5:35. An exciting edition of Phone Your Farb Friday. And so, if you got things you want to get off your chest, things you want to ask, this would be the place and the time. What I'm saying, that's what we do. We had a good round of Stump the Chump yesterday.
Yeah, you did last night, yeah.
Yeah, last night, we used to call that's what we used to call when I was working in the White House booth at Fox News, and you had to go out and answer questions that the anchor people would throw at you. And, in order so that you didn't get yourself in a bind, you would actually send them a couple, well, you might want to ask me about so-and-so. And there was never any kind of collusion. It was just like, I think this is important to get across. You might want to ask me about this.
Yeah.
And you would send it up, and they never read them. I don't think they read one of them. And so you'd be standing out there in front of the White House lawn, you'd deliver your report, and they would ask you a question that you had no answer to.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that was just, purely accidental.
We called it going out to play Stump the Chump, and you were the chump. And you have this little trick. I'm gonna share a secret broadcasting trick for you. When you're asked a question you don't know the answer to. Oh, that's a great question. But I can tell you this.
Nice.
You see what I just did?
Mm-hmm.
That's known as the pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Like in basketball, you pivot. Yeah, that's a great question. But I can tell you this, and you just go into what you do know.
So what you're saying is you took some pointers from the politicians you were around all the time.
No, I mean politicians. If you're a politician and you don't know that trick, you're not much of a politician. I'll tell you that for sure. No, it was just a way to move into areas that you needed to get on the record, and so the public was well served by that. With politicians, they're just trying to be evasive. I wasn't trying to be evasive. I was just trying to tell you what I knew.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right. So anyway, when you see it, you'll know it now. You'll say, that guy just pivoted. That's what he did. They were trying to stump the chump, and he pivoted. That's what he did. Trump is going to be arraigned on Tuesday. I don't think he cares one whit about this. I don't think he's worried about it one bit. Former President Trump, according to Fox News and many others, will be arraigned in court on Tuesday following his indictment yesterday by a Manhattan grand jury on charges related to Stormy Daniels. After being indicted, by the way, nobody saw that coming. Nobody, apparently even like the news organizations in New York, did not know that was going to happen. Everything that had been said led us to believe that the grand jury was not going to meet again and that nothing was going to happen. And it, smack, there it is, right in the middle of the afternoon on a Thursday. Donald Trump is indicted. Now, look, I'm gonna just get to the real, meat of this, I don't think there's any there. This district attorney is conducting, he's weaponizing the grand jury process. That's what Democrats do. They weaponize everything related. They are behind the levers of government. They seem to not care too much about serving in the best interest of the public. What they care about is how can I take this power that I have and I weaponize it to get what I really want from a political standpoint. And to me, that's just so crass. But that's what this guy's doing. And I think, I don't know, I think they may really regret that they have done this. I honestly believe that the more you attack Donald Trump, the stronger he gets in the Republican Party. Now, I have heard this, and again, don't yell at me. I'm just saying I've heard this theory being espoused. And I want to be sure that I bring all theories to you so you have the benefit of them, is that say, well, that's what they want. They want Trump as an opponent. Okay, I'm not sure that that's true, but I mean, some people say the Democrats want Trump, and so, yeah, by attacking him, they make him stronger. The Republican voters will nominate him, and then he can be beaten in the general election. Whether you agree with that or not, that is something that the Democrats have offered up as a possible explanation of why they're doing this. Because I don't think they're going to get a conviction. I really don't think they're going to get a conviction. The idea here is that they are pursuing avenues that have already been investigated and rejected by the Department of Justice. It is, as I understand it, they're doing some very novel things from a legal standpoint to take this from a misdemeanor to a felony. Because if it remains a misdemeanor, the statute of limitations is long past. To be able to actually bring a case, you have to up it to a felony, and they are really, on some thin legal reeds here in order to try to make this a felony case. They're saying basically that this became sort of an in-kind contribution to the campaign. I don't think you can make that argument. I don't think that there's a lot of evidence that's going to support that. And a lot of evidence that points that there were other reasons why this stuff was going on. They never went after Bill Clinton. They did go after John Edwards, but John Edwards, when they went to trial, he got off. So I just think it's not a particularly strong case. I'm not sure that they're on good legal ground. A lot of people who are really experienced attorneys have looked at this and said that there's just no there. Alvin Bragg, I don't know what his motivation is, but that's it. He's scheduled to be arraigned at 2:15 East Coast time. It'd be 1:15. Is that right? 1:15 Middle Tennessee time on Tuesday at Mershon's, the Judge Juan Mershon's courtroom, 100 Center Street in New York. Apparently, all of the local law enforcement and federal law enforcement have been put on high alert, and I don't understand that either. I don't know why that would be necessary. I don't think there's going to be a hue and cry. I think everybody on our side understands this is just all a big dog and pony show. At least I think they do. Let's see. We have the personal attorney to the president is a guy named Joe Tacopina. And he confirmed that Trump has made the arrangements with the district attorneys to surrender without handcuffs. And detectives with the DA's office will handle the arrest. Law enforcement agencies, including the United States Secret Service, the New York Police Department, the FBI, New York State Court officers, and the DA's office will meet today to finalize details about the logistics and the security of the president's arrest. Sources previously told Fox News that Bragg had requested that Trump surrender to his office Friday, but apparently they have come up with this as an acceptable alternative next Tuesday. The Secret Service will determine, as they often do with a protectee, how he is brought into the courthouse. The indictment of a current or former president of the United States, unprecedented in American history. The criminal charges against Trump come after a years-long investigation. You know what this is all about. And again, this has been looked at before, and they have rejected this as a legal argument. Trump had said that Bragg is obsessed with trying to get Trump while warning the move to charge a former president will backfire. I think that's true. This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. From time to time, I came down the golden escalator. From the time I came down the golden escalator at Trump Tower, and before I was ever sworn in as your president of the United States, the radical left Democrats, the enemy of the hardworking men and women of this country, have been engaged in a witch hunt to destroy the Make America Great movement. The investigation was opened in 2019 by then District Attorney Cyrus Vance. There's a name with some political attachment to it. Last year, the investigation, there's several, as you know, several investigations that are ongoing. Again, I don't get it. Don't understand why you would do that. But nonetheless, that will be the way they go forward. By the way, Joe Tacopino, according to Today, spoke with Savannah Guthrie on Today and said, Trump will not take a plea deal in this case. It's not going to happen. There's no crime. And I think that you could probably get this thing laughed out of court if the judicial process is and the least bit fair, and you look at the law. I think any judge worth his salt would say, I'm sorry, you just don't have a case here. And there's a lot of documents that have been put, hundreds of documents put in by the Trump people that suggest that there is no there. From thehill.com, Republicans see indictment as a boon for Trump in 2024. It doesn't, by the way, bar him from running for the White House. I don't know. George Soros has denied spending, despite boosting Alvin Bragg, despite a $1 million donation to a left-wing PAC that supported him. Yeah, he says, I don't know him. Yeah, nobody buys that. And then there's this. Nancy Pelosi put out a tweet saying that the president will have the right to prove his innocence at trial. And apparently, this novel concept about our legal system, where you are innocent until proven guilty, was just too much for the Democrats who suggested that Nancy Pelosi was somehow in the tank for Donald Trump or something. She got hammered by the left. What do you mean he'll get a chance to prove his innocence? Well, yes, in a court of law, you are presumed innocent until proven guilty, and he will have an opportunity to prove his innocence in a court of law. Nancy Pelosi, in this rare occasion, was correct. 21 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Well, let's talk about Sylvan Health, a personalized nutrition service which is covered by insurance. You see, nutrition can improve the way you feel, can help you lose weight, and help you manage health conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, all of which are directly related to the foods that we eat. And this is where Sylvan Health comes in. Sylvan connects you with a registered dietitian to help put together a nutrition plan for you without forcing you to cut out all the foods you love. Your dietitian will provide tools such as meal plans, shopping lists, restaurant guides. A few small tweaks to your diet, they can go a very long way, and appointments are done via video calls. That's right, even over the phone, so there's no need to travel in for face-to-face meetings. And here's the best part. The service is covered by insurance. That's right, 90% of patients have zero out-of-pocket expense. So schedule your appointment today. Here's the number, 833-279-5826, or visit sylvanhealth.com to take that first step toward looking and feeling better, utilizing the power of nutrition.
A bill passed that helps with school safety in Tennessee, and the money news, that and more. 30 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's a woke world after all. It's a woke world after all.
I ain't got time for that nonsense. I ain't got time for that.
Thank you very much, yeah.
I'm just saying, there you go. The woke world news, I mean, if there's anything that, when we do woke world, we talk about, things that are woke that the Biden administration is trying to do. Nothing perhaps fits that bill better than their new Green Deal, Green New Deal policies that they have tried to impose upon America, and not in a good way. It's costing you and me at the pump for other places as well. And here is a story that I think just really brings that full circle. Had Trump-era oil trends continued, we could have produced 850 million more barrels of oil than we have under Biden. Yeah, that's right. Daily oil production would have reached about 15 million barrels a day by December of 2022. And that would have made up for a lot of the oil that we had to take out of the strategic oil reserve. So, I mean, again, the experts have crunched the numbers, and they point out that the reason that we had to go through high gas prices and we had to raid the strategic oil reserve is because the policies of the Trump administration were changed dramatically by the Biden folks. Biden's administration has approved California's electric truck mandate, and this means that California has said it will require an increasing percentage of all trucks to be sold in the state to be electric from 2024 through 2035. Yeah, what does that mean? Well, given the fact that California has about 22% of the nation's truck market, it means that the people who make trucks are going to have to make a decision. Are we going to build electric trucks or are we going to build internal combustion engine trucks? And it gets difficult and expensive to do both. And it thinks that this may hasten electric trucks for everyone, which I think is a disaster in the waiting. This is a story from Political Insider. Far-left Democrats meltdown over parental rights and child protection in schools, likening it to fascism. I do not understand this at all. And most people, I think, who are just normal, everyday Americans, even if they're not overtly political, they sort of get their hackles up when government comes in and says, we know better how to raise your kids than you do. Yeah, they may be your kids, but we know better how to raise them. And they try to keep parents out of educational decisions as much as possible. And anybody who says, no, wait a minute, my kids, I want to have a say, well, then you're a fascist. That's the way they look at it. And the whole story, you can find this article at yourfarb.com. It gives you a lot of detail about how all the different things that are going on around the country that where the government is trying to keep parents out of decisions for their kids. One of the big ones is whether a kid decides that they want to be transgendered, and the schools say, well, we're not going to. If the kid says at school he wants to be called by the pronouns other than those that were assigned to him at birth, well, then we're going to keep that information from the parents. If they want to go by an alternate name, the parents don't need to be advised of this. Look, I think that's just wrong. These children do not belong to the state. These children do not belong to the school systems. These children belong to the parents who have raised them and from whence they came. I just don't understand anybody who looks at this and says, no, there are good reasons why parents should not be involved in some of these very key decisions. It is a woke world. And it's not good. 30 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
30 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 74 degrees, and we are weather aware here tonight. So we're expecting severe storms possible to come in here to the mid-state. It would happen around 9 o'clock in this portion of the mid-state. Earlier in the western portion, west of Dixon, a level 4 out of 5 here in Nashville, and the majority of the middle Tennessee, a level 3 out of 5 for severe storms. Looking at obviously thunderstorms, strong line winds, and a possible tornado. A tornado did touch down this afternoon in Little Rock, Arkansas, and that storm system is headed here. Weather and traffic coming up just a few minutes. Some legislation was passed this morning, Senate Bill 315, that gives private schools some ability to coordinate with Metro Police to ensure that they have the security that they need. Here's Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton, who joined the Matt Murphy Show on WTN.
It allows private schools to do a memorandum of understanding to have SROs or in their schools, and so it was a common sense bill. Unfortunately, not all of the Democrats voted for it. I think there were 7 that voted against it.
Sexton said that it was a bill that was discussed prior to Monday's events, and that 3 of the 7 Democrats that didn't vote to pass this were the 3 legislators that riled up protesters yesterday and acted out of House rules. Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson are now in jeopardy of expulsion for their actions. Sexton says those actions do live up to that punishment. And here's today's money news.
Stocks rallied to end the month. The Dow soared 415 points, the Nasdaq added 208, and the S&P closed up 58. The gains finish a winning March and first quarter of the year despite a long list of worries for investors. The markets rose on a report, the Federal Reserve's preferred gauge of inflation, that shows it slowed nationwide by February, even though it was still high historically. A continued slowdown could give the Fed more latitude to take it easier on interest rates, maybe even lower them, after raising them considerably over the past year. An annual report on Social Security and Medicare says the financial safety nets that millions of older Americans rely on could run short on funds to pay the full benefits by 2031. Thinking of buying an electric vehicle? Fewer new ones will qualify for a full $7,500 federal tax credit under the Treasury Department's latest rules, which take effect next month.
That's Daria Albinger and the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Let's talk about the folks over at Grace Point Healthcare. They deliver medicine affordably with menu-style, transparent pricing. The idea here is pretty interesting. To tell you how much it's going to cost before the care is delivered. Smart Care plans start at just $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they can offer family plans as well. Now, here's how you do this. You got a good, nice 1-2 punch going here. You marry this with your high-deductible insurance plan, and it could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City year after year after year. And Grace Point wants you to know they believe strongly in freedom of choice when it comes to vaccines for you and your children. Grace Point Healthcare on Main Street in Franklin, 599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have two things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call or call 615-851-1950.
It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air. Want to mention that in the 6 o'clock hour, the very first visitor to the bucolic Watertown studios here at stately Wilson Manor. I'll have a special guest. You may notice if you're watching on TV, there's a chair prepared for the guest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the microphone, headsets, because we're a full functional studio here. And he'll be sitting not too far from Larry Goatland, my metallic goat. Oh, I just gave away part of it. I said he, didn't I?
You did.
Okay, well, okay. It'll be fun. I think we'll enjoy it. Now, but right now, it's time for that thing we like to call Phone Your Farb Friday.
Tell me what's on your mind. I want to know what you're thinking.
That's right. You know the number. It's 615-737-9986. This is the part of the week where we open up the phone lines and any topic at all, whatever's on your mind. Maybe you've got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you got a burr under your saddle. Maybe you have a bug in a place where I hope you never, ever have a bug. One way or the other, step up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself within limits. Of course, it is a family show. And we are regulated by the Federal Communication Commission. So, we'd appreciate it if you don't go places that you shouldn't go because it is a family broadcast. But honestly, we want to have that interaction with you. Maybe it was something you heard on the air. Maybe it's a story. Maybe you want to weigh in on the events of the week, and it's been a hell of a week. It really has been in Nashville. So, let me know what's on your mind. 615-737-9986. The phone lines are open. I got a lot of phone lines going, so let's get busy, folks. A lot of stuff that we got to fill here, so I want to hear from you. We'll go with Dave in Bellevue. Dave, you're on the air with Brian on Super Talk 99.7. What's on your mind, Dave?
Hey, Brian, I was wondering, could you tell us what happened with Michael Del Giorno? I haven't heard.
Well, I am authorized to say a little bit about that, and we have been waiting. I'm not surprised by the call, honestly. I get the fact that there's great curiosity about this. Michael is no longer with the company, and it is a personnel matter, and I've been told that we can say nothing more about it other than that. So I know that's a less than satisfying answer for a lot of you, but that is all that I'm allowed to say. I know you want more details, but it's not my story to tell, and so I'll leave it right there. And again, I understand the curiosity. I completely get it, but all I am authorized to say is that Michael is no longer an employee of this station. All right, Dave, I hope that gets a little bit of an answer for you. Moving on, Bill in Columbia. Bill, you're on with Brian on the drive. I'm sorry, we're waiting on Bill. Let's go to Marcia. Marcia in Manchester, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Marcia?
Well, I've got something to say about Trump getting indicted. I think Bidens are doing this because they've done far worse and should already be in jail and tried for treason. But they're trying to take the lights off of them and put it back on Trump. So they're using him just to take it away from them for a while.
I think there's something to that, Marcia. But let me ask you a question. As somebody who, if you listen to this radio station, I assume that you are a conservative and you feel strongly about this issue. Does any of this change your outlook about Trump?
Not one bit. Not one bit. And I will always vote for Trump just because of the way that they have hounded the man. He has had to fight to do everything that he did, and he did a lot for us. But he fought tooth and nail. And for that, I think we owe him. I think we do.
All right, Marcia, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate the call. All right, now let's go to Amy in Shelbyville. Amy, you're on with Brian on the drive. What's on your mind there, Amy? Amy, you're up.
Hi. Love your show. I will say
Thank you.
that. All the violence that's going on, they keep talking about, guns. Guns is not the problem.
Yep.
And if I have my background checked to purchase a legal gun in the state of Tennessee, you think somebody would be smart enough that they would check all across North America? We are one country. Why can't we work on making it unified everywhere?
Well, listen, I'll tell you what. I think there are some things we can do around the edges. There are those who don't want to have anything done anytime at all when it comes to gun rights. I'm really interested in trying to find if we can drill down on this thing where we know we have someone who is going through some mental issues, and can we cross-reference that in some kind of way that protects people's rights against okay, this person has some mental issues. We don't want them to have guns in situations like that. We don't. In the situation with the shooter that attacked the school, the parents thought that there were no guns, and there were actually 7 guns. The individual owned 7 guns, used 3 of them in the attack. I think that we ought to be able to do something around the edges that could take people who should not have guns, and the parents didn't think that she should have guns. And so, I wish there was something we could do about that. It's an incredibly difficult issue. I don't even begin to know how you go about doing something like that, but I certainly would like to see that happen. But again, what a tragic thing this week. And there was a big protest, anti-gun protest. It didn't have any impact on what's going on up in the state legislature. State legislature understands that the people in the hallway, by and large, were not the people who vote in Tennessee. I suspect not many of them even live in Tennessee, just between you and me. And those that did, they have to be weighed against the people who elected those folks. And those folks who got elected know exactly who their constituents are. I don't see anything dramatically changing. How about Caleb in Nashville? Caleb, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Caleb?
Hey, Brian, you're dead wrong about those people at the protest not being from Tennessee, first of all. And just want to know why you think this happens in America only. Why is this a uniquely American problem, these mass shootings?
Well, I don't know that there aren't other problems like this, but I will say that I have been told that a lot of the people who were there might not have been from Tennessee. Some were, clearly some were. I don't deny that. One way or the other, don't you think it's a little interesting that there was a protest in the state legislature in Kentucky on Wednesday, and then 24 hours later there was a protest at the state capitol in Tennessee? I don't know. Is that just a coincidence? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't have an answer for you, but I can tell you that anybody who thinks that they have all the answers about this needs to understand that these shootings are exceedingly rare. That doesn't make them any less tragic. But when you look at the statistics and you try to make the arguments that guns are the issue, I don't think that's the problem. I think it's the individuals that are the issue, and we need to make sure that we find ways to keep guns out of the hands of people who are mentally ill. And this woman was, by all accounts, going through some kind of emotional issue. And maybe when they release the manifesto, we'll have a better understanding of it. How about Charles in Goodlettsville? You're on with Brian. Same topic. What's on your mind, Charles?
Hello, Brian. Let me close my sunroof here. I'm driving. Excuse me. About the gun issue, if someone just use, say, the red flag thing, for instance, and they're found that they're not competent to own the guns, and then they come in and take their guns, what happens with those guns would be an issue. Do they store it somewhere until they can go to court and show that they're competent to have it? Does the government give them money for what the gun is worth, and then the government can either sell it or destroy it?
Well, I don't have, I'm going to tell you right now, Charles, I don't have all the answers. I'll be the first to tell you, but it seems to me that, there has to be a process where if for some reason you are determined to not be able to make good judgments for yourself, then they decide that there is a process by which they temporarily take away your guns. Yes, it has to be for a short-term basis until it goes before a judge, it seems to me, where that can be adjudicated. I understand. I hear people saying right now, they're screaming at the radio, well, that can be abused. Yes, I know that it can be abused. But there ought to be a process where this can happen in a relatively quick order to determine, okay, is this person a danger to themselves or others? Should this person be in possession of weapons? Again, it's a sticky wicket, and I don't have all the answers, but I do think that's one area where if there's going to be anything that's done, that's where I would come down, making sure that we find people who are mentally ill and make sure that they don't have the ability to hurt other people. I think that's in the interest of the public at large, generally. Joe Lacasas. Joe in Lacasas, you're on next with the drive. Same topic. What's on your mind, Joe? What do you think?
Yeah. I believe that it's just crazy how they want to go after these guns and people being able to buy them, but it's like it's not that big a deal when somebody kills somebody but within a car accident. They're not trying to go after cars that are fast or trying to make it harder for people to get driver's license and things like that. It's just you can tell they've kind of got an agenda with that, and it's just kind of grinds my gears.
Yeah, okay. I hear you. I do hear you with that. And Joe, thank you so much. Well, let's end with a palate cleanser. I get asked this question all the time. Ernest in Fayetteville, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Ernest?
Yes, got two statements. Number one, I was raised up and got my very first shotgun at age 14. I was hunting on the farm with my father, and if I had so much as even considered mishandling or doing something wrong with gun, he'd have broke it over my head. Yeah,
and we need some parental involvement here. You're right. What's the other question?
Oh, what is a cabana wife?
You know, my wife's name is Dawn, and when we were dating, one day there was a segment that I did on the morning show where I was out on the cabana, and I turned and I said to the person who was there with me, who I was dating at the time, and I said, "Oh, cabana girl, could I have some refreshments?" And she brought me. She said, "Yes, Mr. Wilson," and it was just sort of a funny moment we'd set up. And so I began calling her Cabana Girl. Well, when we got married, I didn't think it was appropriate to call her the Cabana Girl. So I now have nicknamed her Cabana Wife. And people last night at the thing in Murfreesboro were walking up and said, "You're a Cabana Wife? Oh, so you're not at all what I imagined." But that's how it all came to be. And it's just, I try not to use her name that often on the air because I just want her to be able to have a life that's not impacted by this career that I've chosen. But she loves being the Cabana Wife. She revels in it.
Can I just say, Brian, just to clarify, you were doing that segment from the hot tub.
Yeah, I was in a hot tub at the time. That's right. And I'm going to move the show on someday when the weather's really nice over to the new cabana, I promise you.
Nice.
22, make that 52 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. All right, let's talk about the folks over at Everseal. What is Everseal? Well, it's a sealant. It's been around for ages and was first used in industrial applications, and the folks at Everseal found a way to provide a permanent solution for sealing your exterior wood and concrete at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. I mean, this is remarkable stuff. Now, the process starts by deep cleaning all the way down to get your wood and concrete looking as good as it possibly can look, and then they take their patented seal and apply it, and it will absorb all the way through to become a permanent part of your wood and concrete and will prevent any further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. It's actually got a 25-year manufacturer warranty. So let's think about this for a moment. Sealing your concrete, sealing your wood year after year after year. You do it every year. I mean, you got to go out there and put some stuff on the deck, right? What if you had to do this one time and you could just forget about it for a long, long time? Wouldn't you probably save a lot of money over the long haul? Yeah, I think so. So why don't you reach out, if this sounds like a good idea, to Steve Nelson and the team over at Everseal. Here's the number, 1-844-EVER-USA. That's 1-844-EVER-USA. Learn more at ever-seal.com. Let me tell you about Assisted Family Care, a good company. And maybe you've noticed at your family that there are some elderly members of your family who are really starting to miss a step. You know, I mean, they just can't do the things that they once could do so easily. And you've come to the conclusion that, well, you know what? They need a little help. And that's what Assisted Family Care does. They can connect you with a responsible, compassionate, compatible helper to assist you with your loved one's daily needs. And if your loved one is a veteran or a spouse or a widow of a veteran, they could very well qualify for a little known benefit to help cover those kinds of expenses. Assisted Family Care has years of help in making sure that those in Middle Tennessee who qualify for that benefit actually get access to it. Many veterans are eligible to receive up to 20 hours of daily living assistance each week at no cost to them. The application process is daunting and confusing, but the folks at Assisted Family Care, they can help you with this. So why don't you call Assisted Family Care? They were there to help you. AssistedFamilyCare.com. Here's the number, 615-833-9725.
5 o'clock, Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 74 degrees, a cloudy day, and it's about to turn into a wet, stormy one. Potential severe weather coming into Middle Tennessee. This storm's traveling west to east. Right now, it's going to get severe weather like around 9 p.m. up until 1 a.m., even into extending till 3 a.m. This will be in the form of hard, straight-line winds paired with a potential tornado. There was a tornado that touched down in Little Rock, Arkansas, and again, with obvious thunderstorms paired with all of that. We'll keep you updated with all of the weather happenings, but make sure to stay weather aware here. Weather and traffic coming up just a few minutes away. Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, joined Matt Murphy's show today on WTN and discussed some of the events that took place yesterday when 3 Democrat representatives, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson, acted out of House rules and amplified protesters at the state capitol.
And then what we had was the circumstances when you're in the well, you have to be recognized to be in the well. We were in between bills, and they're trying to say we're in recess, which is, again, go back and look at the tape. That's not correct. And so we were in between bills, and they just stormed into the well, pulled out a bullhorn, and started shouting in the bullhorn to the people in the gallery and started doing chants and making political speeches, and even went as far on Twitter as saying they occupied the House floor, that they took back the House chamber.
Sexton said that the 3 wanted to be arrested, handcuffed, and walked out. He also said that an expulsion could be in order, and that was a rally that took place yesterday. There's a march scheduled for Monday, right, and they are going to start it right at 10:13 a.m. That's when police received the first calls of a shooting happening at Covenant School. It's called March for Our Lives, and the nonprofit group is trying to get students to walk out of classes in March. This group formed after the school shooting in Parkland, Florida in 2018. The group tweeted in calling for the walkout, saying, quote, "It's not drag queens, it's not books, it's not black history, it's not trans rights. Guns are killing kids," end quote. The walk-in rallies will last for about an hour. And Southwest Airlines is now announcing a new action plan to set up its operation after a system-wide meltdown last year grounded thousands of flights last December. Justin Finch brings us some details.
Around Christmas and the New Year, Southwest canceled over 16,000 flights when its system crumbled, stranding passengers. In a new company action plan, Southwest admits it fell short and had insufficient equipment and infrastructure in place. It says as a result, it will increase available equipment like de-icing trucks to manage bad weather. It'll add staff at airports where extreme cold limits how long employees can work outside, and it's improving tools used to electronically notify crews of new flight assignments. It says those moves should help it remain on track during bad weather.
And that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and you're listening to The Drive on this last day of March, last day of the week, last day of the quarter. And man, I'm telling you, it's supposed to be, supposed to have weather that goes out like a lamb at the end of March, but we are on alert. Keep an eye on the sky. Be weather aware. Keep your phone charged, keep your radio charged, and make sure that you have batteries. For those who still have battery radios, I once recently made the mistake of calling it a transistor radio, and that immediately somebody said, "How old are you?"
Yeah, I don't think they do that anymore.
No, transistors went away a long time ago. But I remember when I was a kid, you had a transistor, and you judged your transistor radio on how many transistors it had.
The more the better, huh?
Well, if you had a 6 transistor radio, that was okay. But if you had an 8 transistor radio, you had something.
You were somebody. Yeah.
I don't know anybody who had a 12 transistor radio, but I'm sure they existed. One way or the other. You just make sure your radio does have batteries and you're charged up, ready to go. Because it could be a little rough tonight. There were tornadoes in where was it, Little Rock today, and that's the same storm system that should be moving through Tennessee late tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
Well after we're off the air, but nonetheless, be weather aware. I want to talk about Biden Incorporated and the investigation there, and to see where we are with regard to that, because every day, as I like to say, there's a drip, drip, drip quality to this story that just doesn't go away. Every day there's a little something. And I know, again, I hear people saying, "Wilson, I'm so tired of hearing about it. I just want to know, when are they going to get to the bottom line?" Well, I think you understand that when Democrats were in charge of both the House and Senate, there was not a body that could independently go in and look at this. Republicans didn't have the ability to do what they can do now that they're in charge of the House of Representatives. And although it's been like 3 months or so almost 3 months since they took over. I'm telling you, it takes a little while to get the subpoenas and get the committees ordered and to start getting these documents back in. But one of the key things that happened here that makes it very interesting is that the suspicious activity reports from the Treasury Department are now in the possession of the committee and the various committees that are looking into this matter about, was the Biden family being paid off by the Chinese is the question. And because you now have those documents, those are sort of the keys that open up the investigation to look in bank accounts, follow the money, and you learn a lot. Now, they've got 12 different kinds of suspicious activity reports they're going to be going through. They're just really starting to work through number 1. These things take time, but slowly but surely, there are a lot of questions that are starting to be asked, and maybe they will be answered. You ready? Here we go with this. Republicans react after learning that Hunter Biden associate frequented the White House. Chairman James Comer says this is more evidence showing the Biden family enterprise was centered around Joe Biden's political career. House Republicans say a new Fox Digital report revealing that Hunter Biden's former business partner frequented the White House more than a dozen times when President Biden was vice president presents further evidence against the Biden family and the investigation into whether they sold White House access to foreign adversaries. Fox News Digital reported this week that Hunter's former business partner, John Robinson Rob Walker, appeared to have visited the Obama White House at least, you ready, 16 times during Joe's vice presidency. This is the same Rob Walker whom Republicans say paid out more than $1 million to Hunter James Biden, James Biden, Hallie Biden, with an alleged funds connected to a Chinese Communist Party-tied company. And then there's the question about that account that just says Biden, no first name. It's no surprise that another Biden family associate frequently visited the Obama White House, said James Comer, chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. We already know that another associate visited the White House almost 30 times when Joe Biden was vice president. This is more evidence showing that Biden family enterprises centered around Joe Biden's political career, and Americans deserve answers about the Biden family business schemes, and we will keep pressing for transparency and accountability. I mean, how does this look? It looks so bad. So bad. There's a lot of smoke here. Let's get down to the brass tacks. And by the way, you bring in these people under oath and ask them questions because they can now be subpoenaed. Now, they could choose to do something like plead the fifth, but you bring these people under oath or cut them an immunity deal of some kind and get them to tell you the truth. And they'll tell you, they know who that last account was, the one that simply said Biden. Was it the big guy? I don't know. I mean, the information certainly is starting to make this thing look more and more suspicious every single day. So that is pretty interesting. How many times did they go there? What were they doing there? Who did they talk to? Who did they meet with? Were they, even if you didn't meet with the vice president, if you're at the White House, you're meeting with somebody else to open a door for your client because they paid you a lot of money because you are somehow connected to the vice president of the United States. Joe Biden said that he actually admitted that he did some of this stuff. He's actually admitted that in an interview. He says, I was in Ukraine and we had some money that the Obama administration was going to give to Ukraine. And we told them that they couldn't have the money unless they fired this prosecutor, a prosecutor who, by the way, was going after the people that Hunter Biden had connections with. And, they said, well, you can't do that. And he said, just watch me. And I'm quoting the vice president of the United States at the time. He said, well, son of a bitch, they fired the prosecutor. That's a direct quote. I'm telling you, this all smells very bad. And at what point do we finally get that one piece of evidence? We're bouncing around it. We're so close that I think that something's going to happen. And as I mentioned earlier, there are growing numbers of voters who believe that Joe and Hunter Biden did something illegal or unethical. The numbers are up there dramatically. Let me see if I can just get the headline out of this. Here we go. Polling data shows the increase of 2% was transferred from those who were recorded as unsure. Okay, yeah. According to the poll, 64% believe Joe Biden did something illegal or unethical, the poll found in March. 64%. That number is greater than the poll's findings in December, when 62% said the president had done something illegal or unethical. So the numbers are changing. People are slowly coming around and understanding that this thing does not look good. In other news from the swamp, Senator Joe Manchin has attacked in a verbal way President Joe Biden, accusing the president of pushing his ideological agenda rather than meeting with members of Congress to address inflation and the looming debt ceiling crisis. In an editorial in the Wall Street Journal, we haven't had time to talk about this, even though it happened in the middle of the week because of all the other things that have been going on. But Manchin criticized Biden over his administration's implementation of the Inflation Reduction Act, a landmark bill the West Virginia Democrat helped to construe to reduce the country's deficit. But however, Manchin accused the Biden administration of abusing the Inflation Reduction Act to increase spending levels unilaterally, calling the act a betrayal. Certainly changing his tune on that, isn't he? But nonetheless, he's right. Another story from the swamp, and this one makes me mad. It really does. A Senate Republican, this is from theepictimes.com, revealed during a March 28th budget hearing that an internal Department of Justice memo dissuaded U.S. Marshals from arresting protesters in violation of law against picketing the homes of judges. The materials revealed during the hearing show that U.S. Marshals were explicitly directed not to arrest protesters at the homes of Supreme Court justices. People want justice to be blind, says freshman Senator Katie Britt of Alabama, who unveiled the findings. Section 1507 of the U.S. Code prohibits the picketing of Supreme Court justices or other federal judges if the desire is to change the outcome of a legal case, and certainly that was what they were trying to do. But when protesters demonstrated at the homes of the conservative justices to protest their leaked abortion decision in June of 2022, U.S. Marshals made few arrests in connection with the statute. That was not a mistake. She showed that a DOJ memo had directly dissuaded agents from making arrests on the basis of Section 1507, instructing them to arrest protesters only as a last resort. I know, like when you show up at somebody's house and say you were there to kill an associate justice of the Supreme Court, as one did. Is that what it takes? The law says you're not supposed to picket or parade near the residence of a judge if the idea is to influence the outcome of a court decision, period. But the Department of Justice had told the U.S. Marshal's Office, don't pay attention to the law. We don't want to do that. House passes a GOP energy agenda boosting oil and gas production. It's not going to become law, but it is an important thing. If there's one thing that really defines the difference between conservatives and Republicans, is we want energy independence on our side, and all they want is a bunch of this pie in the sky Green New Deal stuff that's not going to be able to meet our energy needs for the future. And if you want to draw a quick line between Republicans and Democrats, this is one of the big areas to do it. And so the House is passing their energy agenda, at least to have a marker down to say, this is what conservatives believe. Maybe they'll be able to get people to vote, and they'll have to put it on record if they're going to be in favor of things like not drilling to keep the price of gasoline low. That'll make an interesting little 30-second commercial in the upcoming elections. And we didn't get to tell you because, again, we were so busy with things earlier this week, that the QAnon shaman, Jacob Chansley, has been released early from prison. The person representing the QAnon shaman, as he was called, has stated his client's been released from prison early, sent to in our halfway house. This comes on the heels of Tucker Carlson showing video of the shaman basically not doing anything violent, but being escorted around the Capitol by Capitol Police, raising some real questions about, by the way, none of that video was made available to his attorneys in discovery, which raises real questions about whether or not those prosecutions should have gone forward. It is now 20 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's talk about Rhino Shield, time of year where you start thinking about doing a little work around the house, right? A good idea to do that. You could paint your house, but, honestly, if you paint your house, get ready to do it again in a couple of years, because paint, what does what? Well, it chips, it cracks, and it peels. Why don't you do something different, something better? Why don't you put Rhino Shield on your house? It's not paint. It's 10 times thicker than paint, infused with special 3M ingredients, billions of microspheres that allow the coating to expand and contract, and that's why they offer a 25-year warranty against cracking, chipping, and peeling. Clay Morris and the folks of Rhino Shield of Nashville have a great reputation, and they care deeply about doing quality work. Don't take my word for it. Amanda wrote, "My home turned out beautifully. They showed up on time. The crew was professional and courteous. I had custom painting that needed to be done, and they did an amazing job." Sound like something you'd like to do at your house? Get a 25-year warranty, forget about it for a quarter century? Give Clay Morris a call at 615-474-1729 and learn more at rhinoshieldnashville.com.
The aftermath of the anti-gun protesters that got out of hand after feeling they could do so when 3 Democratic state representatives amplified it. That and more 5:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air. And get ready, because after the news with Mac Morey, round number 2 of this thing that we like to call Phone Your Farb Friday. Phone Your Farb Friday. Get ready at 615-737-9986. The Chinese, our relationship with the Chinese is incredibly difficult right now. Couple of stories that I think are pretty interesting. As you know, or you may not know, Taiwan's president is visiting the United States this week, and sort of they're having to play some games because they don't want to just come out and say she's here for an official visit. So what they're saying is that, well, she's transiting through the country on the way to Central America. She's stopping through on the way. These are incidental visits because of her travel schedule to Central America. This thinly veiled cover story to carry out important high-level meetings with American lawmakers is being floated to not offend the Chinese sensitivities to this matter. She'll be in New York, heading to Guatemala and then Belize, and then we'll fly through California on the way back to Taiwan. And she is going to meet briefly there in California with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who represents the state of California. Chinese officials have warned of consequences and countermeasures if this person, her name is Tsai, it's Tsai, is welcomed by American lawmakers. But one way or the other, they'll probably run some special war games just outside Taiwan, as they have done in the past. But one way or the other, this is happening, and it's just silly that we have to have this cover story in an attempt to not irritate the Chinese. So what? Oklahoma GOP senator sounds the alarm over China's farmland purchases, says the United States must pay much attention to this. I think it's happening in Tennessee as well. 1 million acres of Oklahoma farmland currently owned by foreign entities and nations like China, according to Senator Lankford of Oklahoma, 100% using the land for drug production. I heard this when I was in Oklahoma visiting family. They had a piece of property that was up. The Chinese people came in and said, we're going to do it. We're going to grow marijuana on it. And which is apparently you can do that in Oklahoma. And when they found out that there were mineral rights and that the oil company still had to come in and take care of the pump jacks that were there on the property, they no longer were interested in buying the property. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, no, that happened in somebody in my own family. But they're buying up a lot of land. These are Chinese criminal organizations that are moving in, and you're not going to move in and move that much money without some awareness of the Chinese Communist Party. Just last year, China has doubled the number of acres that it has in the United States. They're buying up hundreds of thousands of acres across the country, and they're moving in criminal operations into the country. I don't like this idea at all. Become a hot button issue, especially in the wake of the Chinese spy balloon that the U.S. shot down last month, because in some of the land that they're buying, much of it tends to be, not always, but tends to be not far from U.S. military installations, things where we have missile silos or B-2 bomber bases. I mean, really, honestly, very sensitive areas where they are buying up this land. And we really should put a stop to it. There really should be action taken at the very highest levels. The senator from Oklahoma is absolutely correct about this. Biden must prove to China, he says, that the U.S. is nothing to be trifled with. Why do we tiptoe around here when it comes to our national security? Why do we have to worry about this? We should do everything that we need to do to make sure that the Chinese are not buying up valuable farmland. There's only so much farmland in America, productive farmland, and we should not be giving it to the Chinese. We should be protecting that. And I understand that there are a lot of people out there to make a buck and want to sell some land, but what is the ultimate price of allowing that to happen? I'm every day I get more and more concerned about the actions of the Chinese. We're in a proxy war with Russia. We are poking the bear when it comes to China, but that's okay. It's a panda bear. You know. By the way, there's a Pooh Bear movie.
Oh yeah, I've seen that
this. Got barred or banned in China because they joke about the leader Xi Jinping looking like Pooh Bear in China, and he takes great offense at this.
That's
those people who think he looks like Winnie the Pooh, and so they barred the movie from being shown in China. It's 5:30 now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 74 degrees and cloudy in Nashville. Expecting some severe weather coming here into the mid-state in the next few hours, anywhere from 7 p.m. until 3 a.m. In the Nashville area, more likely to begin getting severe around 9 a.m. We'll see hard straight-line winds paired with severe thunderstorms, a possible threat for a tornado. If you go into West Tennessee, a level 4 out of 5 for severe storms here in the mid-state around Nashville. Level 3 out of 5. Weather and traffic in just a few minutes. Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton joined the Matt Murphy Show today and discussed the events yesterday that included 3 Democratic representatives, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson, acting out of House rules. Multiple out of orders were ruled. They amplified protesters at the state capitol. Here's Sexton speaking on it.
There were people there who were peaceful and who were there for the purpose they were. Unfortunately, that's not always the case when you have that big crowd. And you had those 3 members were going in and out of the chamber the whole day, talking in the gallery to those up there, taking pictures with them, leading the chants when they were outside, when they were inside, and really trying to add energy and to what was going on. And they continued to add energy throughout.
He said the 3 even tried to say that they had taken back the House chamber on Twitter, and they made political speeches trying to rile up all these protesters. And that was a rally yesterday. There's a march scheduled for Monday, 10:13 a.m., and that's right when the police received the first calls that a shooting was happening at Covenant School. It's called March for Our Lives. The nonprofit group is trying to get students to walk out of classes in March. The group formed after the school shooting in Parkland, Florida in 2018, and that group made a tweet calling for the walkout saying, quote, "It is not drag queens, it's not books, it's not black history, and it's not trans rights. Guns are killing children." The walk-in rallies will last for about an hour. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners. And you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. get it to come back up, because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have two things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or call 615-851-1950.
You know, when you hear Genesis Diamonds, you think extreme value. You think amazing prices, no middleman markups, bigger and better for less. That's all true. But what else is true? Well, the Genesis experience is second to none. It's totally professional, laid-back luxury, relaxed and informative. You are dealing with non-commissioned experts, not clerks. You're offered a refreshment the minute you walk in, and from there, it just gets better and better. At Genesis, it's all about high quality, no compromises, exquisite hand-picked diamonds that are cut above what you find in other stores. Genesis gets the first picks of the world's best diamonds from cutters all over the world. The ones they reject are the only ones you'll see in those mega chain stores and online. And at Genesis, you can get that designer ring that she wants. Genesis has the designers that you won't find in other places. They've been selected by the world's top bridal designers to be an authorized retailer. Over 4,000 rings to choose from, handcrafted quality rings in every style imaginable. Also, check out their amazing luxury pre-owned Rolexes, hand-selected in pristine condition, and all the popular models that are so hard to find right now. Genesis has them. Genesis Diamonds, 2 locations in Green Hills and Cool Springs. "38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Friday, the last day of the month, last day of the week. Woo-hoo! Ready for a weekend? Well, let's just get through the night, shall we? Because we need to be weather aware. The weather has been a little rough, and that front that caused all the problems in Arkansas now headed our way later tonight in the Nashville area. So keep your radio charged and your phone charged, okay? It's time for this thing that we do on Fridays that we like to call Phone Your Farb Friday.
Tell me what's on your mind. I want to know what you're thinking.
That's right. We want to know what you're thinking about. And all you got to do is pick up the phone and call this number, 615-737-9986. That's the hotline. You listen, maybe you have a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you have a burr in your saddle. Maybe you have a bug in a place that you never really ever want to have a bug. Just climb up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself within limits, because it is a family show. And, you know, we want to be nice here. Don't make me, have to use the delay button on you, okay? We start off with Justin in Buffalo Valley. Justin, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on Super Talk 99.7 The Drive. What do you say, Justin?
Hey, Brian, thank you for taking my call today, sir.
No problem. What's on your mind?
Well, I'd like to comment on this tragedy that happened this week here in Nashville. It was my understanding that there was some mental illness involved with that, and I know that that's something that a lot of people hits close to home for them.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, they have said that there apparently were, and I think the term they used were emotional issues that she was being treated for. And the chief has suggested that there may be something to do with her transgenderism that is a part of this as well. But go ahead.
Yes, sir. And the other story I heard this week was a New York Democrat that went to yelling and, about gun control and calling some other officials cowards in the fiduciary building.
Right, and they was actually in Congress. Right, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to comment on that sort of example from a Democratic leader and how that can lead to that method of conflict resolution can breed mental illness, because it equates to just a screaming match and name calling and an adult temper tantrum.
Well, it was a temper tantrum. There's no doubt about that. I get your point. I want to say one thing about all this. Yes, what happened in Nashville was tragic. It seems to be rooted in this individual's mental condition, whatever it may be, and maybe we'll learn more when that manifesto is finally released. We'll maybe get a little bit more about that. But I don't want anybody to, think that, because of this or other things that happen, that there is a dramatic change in the politics of all this. I don't think that people are going to be coming to confiscate your guns. I don't think there may be some things around the edges, like, okay, can we find out how to keep weapons out of the hands of people who are mentally ill? Right? Maybe there should be something there. I don't know. But one way or the other, I don't think dramatically things are going to change. There are 330 million Americans in America today, and about 400 million guns. So these are not going to change dramatically, and nothing has changed on the political landscape in my estimation. David in Nashville. Your same topic. What's on your mind there, David?
Well, Brian, it's all these gun issues and everything. I think this morning, one of the representatives hit it right on the head. It's not the guns. Because you think, what's the most dangerous weapon a person can have? It's simple. It's the mind. Without the mind, you do not know how to use the weapon. A simple stick can become a deadly weapon if you know how to use it.
I think you're right, and again, that's why I say, when we have people who are troubled, can those names not go into a database in a blind way so that law enforcement can double check to see whether or not that particular person has registered guns? I mean, I think that's a fair thing. Look, I don't have the answers. I'm not an expert in this area, but it seems to me that we have got to get the mental illness thing under control. And we need to say to parents, because, I mean, I can think of two things that have happened in Nashville involving someone who's mentally ill who did disastrous things. Remember the Waffle House shooting? That guy was rabidly nuts. And the family knew that he had guns because they gave them back to him. In this particular case, the family said they thought that she should not have guns, and they were under the impression that she had sold all her guns. But, I mean, okay. She's 28 years old, still living at home with her parents, going through emotional things, apparently in some way that may have contributed to this shooting, and you don't know that she's owned 7 guns that are in your house? I mean, come on. Are you looking the other way? I mean, one has to wonder, how does that happen? David in Lebanon, you're up with Brian on the drive. What do you say, David? Hey, David.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, So, something a little bit different. Did Trump not get impeached? And if he did get impeached, is there not a rule that says that he can run for 2 more terms because his first term was interrupted?
He was not impeached. He was, well, there's a difference between being impeached and being convicted of impeachment. Okay, that there's a big difference. Because what is impeachment? It's anything that the House of Representatives, the majority in the House of Representatives says it is. And so, being impeached is one thing, but being convicted, that never went anywhere. So I don't think that that's something that holds any legal sway in this particular case. How about Matthew in Manchester? Matthew, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Matthew?
Yes, I just wanted to make some comment about the politics that's surrounding this Covenant Academy shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was a tragedy. 6 innocent lives lost, and I understand 3 9-year-old children. It seems to me that it's been kind of taken off from that and turned into a political football. And I won't go so far as to say that the radical left had anything to do with the shooting, but they seem to never let it pass us go to waste. And now they're trying to get young children to walk out of schools and, participate in the protests.
There's going to be a walkout on Monday. Just so people know, there's going to be a walkout on Monday from schools, we are told, in Nashville. I think that some of the people that were at the Capitol yesterday causing problems, not all, certainly not all, but some were there to agitate the situation, not to actually advocate for change. And I think they may not have even had driver's licenses that were from this area, is my thinking. So, they're right. There are people, and this is what I think is reprehensible. And let's start with the President of the United States. Before the crime scene tape was even up, he was out there calling, for an assault, what he calls an assault weapons ban. And, not even allowing a moment of mourning and grieving, not even having all the facts in line. I wonder if when we get this manifesto, if it reveals things that, I sort of have been hinted at, whether or not they'll still be talking about this case all that much. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think it's interesting, but, sad. So sad what has happened. And I wish we could just have a moment or two to absorb what has happened. And, we're having funerals today and tomorrow and for the next few days. Let's allow that moment to pass and let the community start to heal from what has happened here. Rick in Westmoreland. Rick, you're on with Brian on the drive. What's on your mind, Rick?
Yes, Brian. I'm thinking about a possible compromise for anti-gun and gun people as far as being in the schools. I knew a guy who was in a prison riot, very stout individual. He assured me that rubber bullets will take you down. It will take you out of action. I was wondering if that might be something that might soften up having guns or some kind of weapon to defend the kids in school might work.
Now, I don't know. That's an interesting thought. I mean, I'm not interested in owning a gun that shoots rubber bullets. I'm just not. But I mean, maybe some people think that would get it done. I mean, that's not the purpose of a gun for me. If I am going, I hope that I never have to use my gun in anger. I mean, the only thing I've ever killed in my entire life are paper plates and targets. That's it. I'm hell on killing paper, but that's about it. That's the only thing I've ever used it for. So I don't know that that everybody in the world wants it. But I mean, if I'm going to use my gun, if I'm going to need my gun to defend myself or my family or my loved ones, I want a real gun. Let's see. Let's go to Ricky in Watertown. Hello, Ricky. You're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Ricky?
Hey.
Hey, listen, you're up, buddy. Go ahead.
Hey, I was going back. I was expecting somebody to ask me what I wanted to talk about something. But were you talking about China buying all the farmland?
Yeah.
I don't think any country should be buying land in the United States When I say that way, China can't holler, oh, you're discriminating against us. No, this is America, for American people, not China, Canada, Mexico, or anybody else.
All right, Ricky, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And by the way, I sort of agree with you. I don't think that we ought to be able to let foreign countries come in and buy up, especially our precious agricultural land. All right, that's it. 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let me tell you about Dr. Stephen Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Clinic. It was good to see Dr. Poss last night at the event over in Murfreesboro. Hey, a question for you. Do you sometimes wake yourself up with your own snoring? Is your sleeping partner giving you a sharp elbow? Have you been sent to sleep on the couch? Well, why don't you do something about it? Set up an appointment with Dr. Stephen Poss at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Clinic. 2 locations for your convenience, one in Brentwood, one in Murfreesboro. He can make a customized FDA-approved mouthpiece proven effective in treating mild to moderate cases of sleep apnea. Did you try the CPAP machine? I know, not for everyone. Why not set up an appointment with Dr. Poss and find out if this approach will work for you like it worked for me? Here's what Julie said. Since my husband got his mouthpiece, he basically stopped snoring at night. Our bedroom is much quieter. I'm sleeping better. He's sleeping better. I mean, why not, get this and look at this and see if this is an option for you? Start getting a good night's sleep. Feel more energized during the day. Contact the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Clinic at your earliest convenience to set up an appointment at 615-850-8445. Learn more at drposs.com.
Six o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 74 degrees in Nashville. Looking like we've got a tornado watch issued for parts of Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee right now. Looking for counties in those. Yeah, that is all of the mid-state. All of Middle Tennessee right now in a tornado watch until 1 a.m. early Saturday morning. Again, a tornado watch in effect, and we are keeping track of all of the severe weather that's headed west to east right now, a level 3 out of 5 in that portion of Middle Tennessee. West Tennessee, level 4 out of 5 for severe weather. Weather and traffic in just a few minutes. Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, joined the Matt Murphy Show on WTN and discussed the events yesterday when 3 Democratic representatives, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson, acted out of House rules and had wrong motives when doing so. He said they may pay for it.
Wanted the troopers to come in and arrest them so that they could walk out in handcuffs. That's the mentality that they have. Unfortunately, they weren't there really to honor the families. They were there more to make a spectacle and hopefully become part of the news, and we did not allow them to become part of the news on that day. And we continue to finish the business of what we were supposed to be there for, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to take action in the future on those 3.
Sexton said they were trying to welcome ralliers onto the House floor as they took selfies with them and added energy to that protest. He says these actions rise to the level of expulsion. And a charity concert to be held in Nashville with celebrities including Eric and Jesse James Decker in attendance is going to benefit mental health services. This is all in the wake, of course, of the Covenant School shooting. The Fund Recovery charity dinner and concert will take place Tuesday, April 4th at 6 at the 1230 Club on Broadway in downtown Nashville. And again, this will benefit mental health resources for those teachers, students, and families that were impacted by Monday's tragedy. And former President Trump has been charged with around 24 counts, including felonies. Sources familiar with the sealed indictment say that, but the exact charges from a New York grand jury are going to remain unknown, which will reportedly, this arraignment will reportedly happen Tuesday. Here's Jonathan Carl.
So much more will be found out once the indictment is unsealed, and it will be unsealed when he makes that first appearance in court for his arraignment. But the bottom line is he will simultaneously be a candidate for president and a criminal defendant. That's something we've never seen in terms of a major party candidate.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, good evening, everybody. 6 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy. It's the last day of the month, the last day of the week. Let's get this weekend started. But while you're preparing your evening activities and festivities, let's keep an eye on the sky. I'm looking at radar right now, and we are, by the way, in a tornado watch until, what, I forget how many hours, 7 hours or so?
Yeah, like 1 o'clock.
Yeah, 1 o'clock. So we've got a lot of weather that's moving into the state. Right now, there's a pretty severe-looking storm just north and east of Memphis. This is part of the same storm system that created tornadoes in Little Rock today, and they had some really bad weather, still having bad weather in Little Rock. This is sort of a train of storms that stretches all the way from, I would say, right now, Little Rock to, north of Nashville. And it will be sort of, zipping across our area slowly but surely. And there are some storms that could be problematic. So keep an eye on the sky, be weather aware, and bring in the lawn chairs. Have you put out your lawn chairs? Because, this is definitely one of those times you want to bring in your lawn chair.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, this is from Nash Severe WX on Twitter. This new tornado watch that was just issued is a, quote, PDS, a particularly dangerous situation is what they call it, and they're rare and alarming. The concern is the line within 10 to 11 Eastern time, and also potential for supercells to develop and arrive before 10.
Yeah, listen, I'm telling you, looking at that storm that's north and east of, it's between Memphis and Jackson, and it's sort of, bearing down on us. That's one that it really looks, particularly nasty.
And I did see where they issued a warning for the people in that area. For the particular little cell there.
Okay, so let's be weather aware. Let's be smart tonight, okay, and be ready to do whatever we need to do, to protect ourselves if that becomes necessary. I mean, the other day we had one and it looked really bad, and then it sort of came through. We had some straight line winds, and that was about it, and It really wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But this is that time of year, I'm reminded. Because I went through one in several years ago, the January 3rd, the March 3rd tornado, and I don't care to go through another one anytime soon. I'll tell you that for sure. I got some other stories here that they're really not hard hitting, but I'm ready for a palate cleanser. Are you guys ready for a little bit of a palate cleanser after this week?
Of course, yeah.
Yes,
I mean, we had a horrible thing that happened on Monday, and we had a horrible thing that happened at Fort Campbell with the loss of 9 soldiers and 2 Black Hawk helicopters that went down. And it's just been a rough week, and then we had all kinds of craziness at the state capitol, and then they ended with the Trump indictment. I'm ready to set all that aside for a moment and just let's set, we got the guys together. Let's just chat for a little bit.
Right.
This, every once in a while you find a story and you say, not the most important story, but maybe one of the most interesting stories that I've read in a long time. I'm a big history buff, and I love reading about history, and especially the history of the Old West. And there's a new study out that says, the traditional thinking was that the Native Americans in America, the indigenous people of America, got their horses after, the Spanish came in with their horses, and maybe some of them got away, maybe some of them were taken, or maybe they were some feral horses. There's still feral animals in America that come from the time of the Spanish. The feral hogs are still a problem, no kidding, in the state of Florida. And I'm serious. I've seen them.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm serious. There's a lot of them. So, this happened, but the thinking was that it came from the Spanish and that the Indians, learned how to use the horses. Now there's a new bit of evidence that suggests that maybe not. Maybe the horses were here on their own, and that they were used by the indigenous communities in Wyoming and Kansas generations before the Europeans arrived in this part of the world. It wasn't people taming wild horses. This wasn't people taming wild horses. They were cared for. We've identified horses in mid-Kansas, clearly corn-fed to get through a tough winter, something revealed by radioactive isotopes left in the horse's bones. I don't know how that all works, but that's what they say.
Yeah. Classic radioactive isotopes.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And, apparently the genetic and radiocarbon testing on some horse skeletons found that they were much older than originally thought. And a lot of indications here that the indigenous peoples along the plains had been using them well before the 1600s. Now, that's pretty
interesting.
Cool.
It's really weird that you bring this story up because I swear to you, it was the day before yesterday, I think. I don't know where this came from, but it just popped into my head, and I was thinking about horses, did the horses that, like you were saying, the Native Americans used, did they come from the settlers and the explorers that came in? I was actually thinking about this exact topic, and it's funny that you bring this up today because I didn't know the answer.
Scientists examined about 24 sets of horse remains from sites ranging from New Mexico to Idaho to Kansas to establish that horses were ridden and raised by indigenous groups by the early 1600s. Almost every aspect of the human-horse relationship is manifest in the skeleton in some way. I mean, they can tell by looking at the skeletons where they're ridden. By the way, the horses are broken in, right? Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess.
I think
Very
fascinating.
Yeah.
I love it. I just love it when you have something that is, established. We've felt this way, for years and years and years. It was the Spanish who brought the horses, and the indigenous peoples then adapted to the horses. And then you find, no, we were wrong all that time. That's when we hear things from, people like Anthony Fauci.
I represent science.
He says he represents science. Well, science is constantly changing, and if you're open to learning new things, and you don't accept every fact as well, this is well established. Well, okay, a lot of things that were well established in the annals of science have been found to be absolutely 1,000% incorrect with the passage of time and better information and better ways of researching this kind of stuff.
Yeah, interesting because you don't think about it because horses are, I guess, so commonplace, but it just shows that. The horse was one of those animals that was present in pretty much every aspect, every place in the world.
Can I tell you my amazing? It's an amazing story. When I was but about 19 years old, I was the news director of my radio station in my hometown of Odessa, Texas, and I picked up the San Angelo Standard-Times, which was sort of a regional paper there, and there was a story about a man who was a surveyor over in Pecos, Texas, who had been out in the middle of nowhere surveying land, and he stumbled into a cave that was full of Indian relics. And so I, back in the day, I just got the phone book out and I looked up his number and called him and I said, hey, I work for a radio station and I'd like to come over. Would you show me your relics, And he said, sure, come on over. And he's a Hispanic guy. And I go over to his house in Pecos. I drive over, it's about 60, 70 miles. And he goes to his garage and he opens up a big plastic trash can. And it was full of things like skulls and Indian weaved baskets. All of these artifacts. And I'm going, oh my gosh, where did you find this? And he said, I'll take you out there if you want to go. So I went out with him in the middle of, way out in the middle of nowhere. And there was a cave, and I went into the cave and I saw all these things. There are still a lot of stuff that had not been gathered. And no archaeologist had ever been there at that point. Wow, what? That's cool. I'm serious. Now, you can go back and you can do this, the caves near Pecos. And one of the things that they found in some of those Indian dwellings around there, those caves and everything, that they found shells from the Pacific Ocean.
Whoa.
Now, how did shells from the Pacific Ocean make their way to a cave in the middle of nowhere, Texas? Wow. And this has been determined to be quite a significant archaeological find. The people at the University of Texas Archaeology Department just about died when they found out about this, and they rushed in and said, "Oh no, we need to preserve this site," and they allowed them to take his the things that he had in the trash can there in his garage. And take them to the university to be properly examined and all that kind of stuff. They found a lot of stuff in that cave that changed their opinion about the people who were in that part of the world at that time. But the Indians, the Indians and the indigenous people of that part of the world were truly amazing, and they traveled vast distances and traded extensively all the time. And so the thing I could never figure out is where they got water at this location, because there was one spring not far from it, but the water was like absolutely undrinkable, very alkaline. I don't know how you could drink that stuff, but they somehow were able to figure it out. And their the stuff that I saw is now on display. Real short story. About a week later, I read in the San Angelo Standard-Times, the state of Texas is looking for anybody that's been in that cave. And I thought maybe I took something out of there. No, I didn't at all. But apparently they were concerned that they had been exposed to a rare thing that happens to spelunkers and people that go into caves. It's some sort of an infection in your chest.
Ugh.
And they wanted to make sure that I was okay.
Wow.
So
I guess you were.
As far maybe it's having an impact now, but I mean, for years and years, I thought it was fine. But it's fascinating. And
seriously,
yeah, I mean, can I just say that this is one of the great things? If I can just geese for a moment, one of the great things about my career is that you never knew, as a young reporter, what you were going to stumble into from one day to the next. I mean, you might go and cover a murder trial one day, and the next day you're crawling through a cave of Indian artifacts that's, thousands of years old. Fascinating. Cool. Those days where, when you were a young reporter and you're just, whatever came across you might end up being assigned to, you never knew, quite frankly, what you're going to get into one day to the next. A federal agency says if you have an iPhone, you should update it. There's a security update. I don't want to get into all the details of it. I don't really understand it, but I think this is just a good thing. Doesn't take long to do, but they say there's a reason to do that. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people, hold off on updates for a while until they kind of work kinks out. But I guess this one is one
they've gotten better about that. I mean, it's been a long time since I've done an update and something stopped working. They seem to have figured some of that stuff out over time. Finally, this story, and I don't know what I would do. A man was kicked off a flight for being fat-phobic and rude.
Ooh,
and now he's got a 12-hour flight. He sits down. I sort of identify with this guy because I've been in this situation. I'm a big guy. I need all of my seat. Now, I don't generally encroach into other people's seat.
Right.
I mean, I'm not that big, but I've been in situations where that has happened to me, and I'm going, what am I supposed to do? Sit here and with my one butt cheek hanging out in the aisle? And I one time I raised, I know how to, there's a little thing, a lever, if you know where it is.
Oh, on the aisle armrest?
On the aisle, you can raise your armrest up, and I was hanging with literally one butt cheek out in the aisle, and and the reason was that somebody had come at the last minute to take the middle seat, and literally there was no room, and I don't want to be rude, but I mean this woman was huge, and and so the flight attendant comes by and says, "Sir, you can't be out in the aisle," and then I just looked at him, and as he passed by, he turned around because I sort of said, well, what am I supposed to do? And he turned around to look at me like, are you getting smart with me, sir? And then he realized, I see your problem.
Yeah.
And there was not another seat on that plane. I mean, it was completely full. So what are you supposed to do in a situation like that?
Good question.
And so anyway, he apparently took them to task before they took off, and they said, you're going to have to get off the plane.
The guy who had the issue rather than the person that was too big for the seat.
The guy who said, well, you're being fat phobic and rude. He said, I'm not being rude. I paid for this seat. I agree.
Yeah.
They're supposed to take care of this when, outside of the plane, before they get on the plane, but nobody ever wants to have that conversation.
Yeah, it's not the thing everybody is afraid to touch it. They don't want to go there.
Nobody wants to do it. And they have a term for it. POS, passengers of size.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we have a POS in aisle 43. Or whatever aisle.
Wow. Could just be like Buttigieg and get on the private jet,
Yeah, that's the answer.
We only could.
If only we could. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
A tornado watch for a large portion of Middle Tennessee. That includes Davidson County. That may flip to a tornado warning as that storm system moves slightly northeast. We'll talk about that and more coming up 6:30 right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, it is 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and glad that you're with us for the wind down here on Friday. Now, coming up in just a few moments, something that we've not done here at the studio in bucolic Watertown, Tennessee, here in our stately Wilson Manor studio. We've never had a guest in studio.
Yeah. I was excited about this earlier.
Until you're not.
But then I realized who the guest was, and I'm like,
wait,
brother.
don't give it away yet, because it's not time for that yet. We're not going to get to that until for a few minutes. So we do have a special guest for the last half hour. And then if you recognize the laugh, then it's been given away. And if you're watching on Super Talk TV,
you're strategically sitting. Oh, look, you ruined
it. So there it is. See, now everybody, no. So it's going to be a good half hour. I promise you that. And I just want to mention about Super Talk TV. We are live on Super Talk TV. You can go to our Facebook page, our Twitter page, our YouTube, or even our Twitch page, and you can listen. I think still really the best way to listen is this old-fashioned technology that we call FM radio. Also on our app. I mean, how many different, let me count the ways that you can listen to this show or watch this show. And we love having all of you do that.
There's no excuse.
What's that?
There's no excuse.
That's right. I mean, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
And then the people say, well, why didn't you talk about this? And I say, I did talk about that. So, what I want to tell you is you can't afford to miss a minute of this program.
Well, Brian, what if I'm listening to the show and I go, I want to know what source, where he got that from. I want to read what he's going. Where do I go? What
I am so glad you asked that. That is one of the best questions you've ever asked, McMorry, because we have this wonderful resource that we can provide to you.
Really?
It's called yourfarb.com. And in case you don't know, Yourfarb stands for yourfriendandradiobuddy.com.
Oh, gotcha.
And I take all of the stories that I use to prep. As you know, if you look around, I have an entire rack of stories that are here for dissemination and I use during the program. Mm-hmm. And there's a link to each and every one of these on yourfarb.com. People say, what kind of information do you get? What kind of information do you trust? Where can you get this great information that you share with us? It's all there for you.
Boom.
All you have to do is go to yourfarb.com. Which, by the way, I'm contractually obligated to say you can find the link to your farb at 997WTN.com. So, all these different ways that you can. And so, listen, it's the end of the week. We've had an incredibly rough week. It's been the week from hell, hasn't it? And so there's so much sadness. So we're just gonna horse around the last half hour. I'm just gonna be honest with you. We're just gonna horse around. And
now, are these European or indigenous people horses?
Good question, given the last story.
Nice call.
No, this guy's a horse. There's no doubt about it. I'm just not sure what part of the horse he is. And so you definitely don't want to miss that. It's going to be good. No, should I just go ahead and say it?
I think you should make people wait. Well,
people watching
they can get
on
the sneak peek right now
on
if
the
they're
TV
watching.
they've already. It's no big secret to them, but I think it'll be a lot of fun.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm not sold on this guy
He's being pretty
he can
good
hear
back
me.
there. Yeah, he can hear you back there. All right. Let's call it right now, 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30, Mac Maury with all your top stories. 73 degrees right now on Music Row. Expecting some severe weather right now. A level 3 out of 5 in Middle Tennessee, level 4 out of 5 in West Tennessee. Strong winds, thunderstorms. You know what? Let me just let Lisa Spencer from Channel 4 tell you all about it.
We are going with around 8 o'clock to be the arrival time, so we pushed it back just a little bit because we've got better timing on the storms. But we are definitely in an elevated risk zone here, 4 on the 1 to 5 scale. In Nashville, 3 on that 1 to 5 scale. Looks as though maybe, hopefully, they're going to weaken a little bit as they move east of I-65. But isolated tornadoes, definitely a possibility for tonight. We are going to see high winds, and those winds could cause some damage. Less concern tonight with our threats. It's going to be hail and flooding.
Weather and traffic coming up in just a few minutes. Legislation passed this morning, House Bill 315, that gives private schools some ability to coordinate with Nashville Metro Police to ensure that they have the security that they need. Here's Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton. He was on the WTN today on the Matt Murphy Show.
It allows private schools to do a memorandum of understanding to have SROs or in their schools. And so it was a common sense bill. Unfortunately, not all of the Democrats voted for it. I think there were 7 that voted against it.
Sexton mentioned that this was a bill that was discussed prior to Monday's tragic events, and that 3 of those 7 Democrats that didn't vote to pass this were the 3 legislators that riled up protesters yesterday and acted out of House rules during these anti-gun rallies. Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson are now in jeopardy of expulsion. Sexton says that the actions live up to that punishment. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you, hey, it'll be ready at 4 o'clock, and then it's absolutely not ready at 4 o'clock. People are really tired of that kind of stuff. If you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, then you should come to Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really supposed to be ready, so you're not standing around tapping your toe, wasting your time. Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. And that's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of a dealership's overhead, and that is a lot of money. Well, why would you want to pay for all that? At Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very popular. So if you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it's reliable. Eurofix, family owned for 24 years. Call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. Have you ever thought about why we invest in the stock market? Well, you often hear because we want to protect ourselves from inflation. Well, what is inflation? It's prices going up. Who's raising prices? Companies. What do you own when you own stocks? You own the companies raising prices, so it helps protect us from that. The other thing is this. Think about the most successful people you know. They're typically business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. Now, if we think about the stock market, a lot of people worry about, well, what if the stock market drops and it never comes back? Well, this is another thing that I like to explain to people. If the stock market goes down and it never comes back, what does that mean? That means that earnings went down and they never came back up again. So earnings went down. If earnings go down, what else goes down? Taxes go down. If taxes go away, what else goes away? The government goes away. If the government goes away, the FDIC goes away. So think about it. Everything is built on the stock market. That's why I don't ever worry about the stock market going down. Everybody has the same goal in mind when stocks go down. Get it to come back up, because we got to get earnings to come back up. Now, you have two things at your control to get earnings to come back up. One is sales. We can change what we're selling or sell more of whatever we have if we can. And if we can't do that, we can reduce our expenses. And that's exactly what companies do. You'll notice that they lay off people when things get bad, and hence that is why the stock market has recovered from every downturn throughout all of history. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or call 615-851-1950.
It's 36 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. We're got just a few more minutes before we hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one. And like I say, it's been a very difficult week, and so I just sort of feel like, we need a palate cleanser. We need to sort of break things up and just have a moment to think about non-serious things for a moment. And when I think about non-serious things, the first person that comes to my mind is Matt Murphy. And he's my special guest, the first guest that I've had here in the studio in bucolic Watertown.
Woo! Yay to me!
There we go.
What's up, Brian? How are you?
I'm doing very well. And so I have to sort of, you get to see the back, if you're watching on TV, the back of my knobby head so that we can have you on camera as it is.
This is fabulous.
What do you mean?
Well, the studio is fabulous. Yep. I've seen it. I've not seen it in action. I've seen it once when you had an open house at the place. But now with the lights and the cameras and all of that,
I finished it all up, and a lot of Cabana Wife painted this room, and turned it. It used to be just a storage room where the people who owned this house before had I think a candle business, and they made candles here.
Huh.
And then I came in and said, nope, it's going to be my radio studio, and it's been quite a process to get air conditioning and the carpet and the walls and the many musical instruments you see hanging on the wall.
That's what I was gazing at. I can't count the number of guitars.
And you shouldn't, because
it's a radio man with a guitar problem.
That's exactly right. I will not doubt that. I mean, but I'm telling you, if we count them, then we have to admit we have a problem, and we're not going to do that. It was great being with you last night in Murfreesboro. The reason that you are here, I should say, is that you and your lovely wife, E, have come over, and we're going to have dinner as soon as I get off the show. Sure. Cabana Wife is making, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's going to be fabulous.
I got the story right before I came on air with you about the, apparently, if it were up to Grogu, we would have rabbit. That's what I was told.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, because she has... she's gotten a possum and two rabbits and a bird.
The story that I was told, and I'm not saying that there's any veracity to it, but I'm just saying that right before there was a trip, Grogu got the rabbit.
Yeah.
And then it was your solution just to leave the rabbit outside and go on the trip.
Well, I thought, we had to go. I mean, it was just before we were supposed to get ready to go to the airport. We got the dog in a dog carrier. She's just a puppy. And she has caught and killed a rabbit and eaten part of the rabbit. And so I thought, well, what do we do? Well, we put her in the crate, and we took her off and put her on the plane. I don't know if it was the plane or the rabbit, but she got really sick. And
Probably a little of both.
So we had to go around the airport in Michigan looking for a place to hose out the container. That was when it's really a horrible situation. But no, she's a stone
She's a
cold
killer.
She's a stone cold killer. That bulldog is. And by the way, honestly, don't be sucking up to my French bulldog here, given the fact that you have denigrated French bulldogs as a breed.
I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with having a French bulldog. And, obviously present company included. I mean, pick the dog of your choosing, but I have a hard time believing that the French bulldog is the number one dog in the United States of America.
Well, that's because they're so dang cute.
Well, they are cute.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Grogu will win your heart.
You know what the thing about French bulldogs is that they are, how do I want to put this? They're comedians. They're the clowns of the dog world. They have this they're just so immensely entertaining. And then they just look at you and you go, well, you just did a horrible thing, but darn, you're cute. It's
kind of the way I live my life.
You can't get mad at them. I mean, and I will say, as a breed, not the most intelligent dog. And everybody says, well, you're being rude about your dog. No, it's not very bright. I've had bright dogs, and this is not one of them. But she's a great dog. But she's just not all that bright.
Well, I will say I had, the golden retriever's obviously been long been the number one breed in America. And when I was, 23, I decided I'm getting a golden retriever. I want America's dog, right? And I got a golden retriever, and Cooper. I named it Cooper after Gary Cooper. Dumbest dog I've ever had in my life. Just absolute dunderhead.
Yeah, they're not a particularly bright breed as well.
Loyal as the day is long. Yeah. Now, I don't know that I can say that about Grogu. Is Grogu loyal to you, probably?
To Cabana Wife, and not to me at all. I mean, I'm like that other human that lives in the house with Cabana Wife. I mean, so no, she's not at all. She's very, very much attached to her. I could be gone for 2 or 3 days on a trip. I come back and the dog says, "Oh, hi, good to see you." She's gone for like 6 hours. And it's like you cannot believe the display that goes on when she walks back in the door. It's like, where have you been? You've been gone for hours. I missed you so much. It's just spastic over the fact that she has now returned home and all is now right with the world. She won't eat. She won't eat when Cabana Wife is gone.
Huh?
Just funniest thing ever. Oh. So anyway, we've had a tough week.
Man, it's been rough.
Again. What we go through is nothing compared to what some people in this community have gone through. Your heart has got to go out right now to the people who lost loved ones they did nothing wrong. They just going about their lives, and all of a sudden their entire lives are ripped asunder by the crazy actions of one lunatic woman. And then you've got the people in the church, and you've got the police officers who had to go in and just through a display of immense bravery and heroism took care of the problem. But that's not an easy thing to deal with either. And the teachers who did such a remarkable job, and the kids who went to that school, and the community as a whole. We've just been it's been very emotional this week.
Yeah, and I know you have individuals in the Metro Nashville Police Department that you talk to on a regular basis,
right.
and I do as well. And I spoke to Brink Fiddler earlier, who is
by the
with
way,
Defense Systems.
A great interview with that today.
And his insight into not only the police side of things, but the fact that he trained the school and had the ability to talk to some of the teachers. And one of the things that he showed me 2 pictures that he felt authorized to show me. He toured the facility 2 days ago, the campus. And he took a number of photographs, and it is strictly because this is the first time that his training has been put literally under fire. And he Brink is an 18-year veteran of the Metro Nashville Police Department. He's done this. He's been around the block a time or two. He's busted down doors and gone into where the really, really bad guys are. And he shows me photographs of wound kits that he provided to the teachers. These are emergency tactical kits where they have, bandages and Band-Aids and that sort of thing. And these teachers had the wherewithal, as they were hunkered down in the midst of this going on, they got their kits, they got them ready, and they got them ready for the purpose of taking care of what they knew.
Truly amazing.
I mean, it's just, and he said his heart just swelled with pride for, and not necessarily himself and the training that he provided them, but for them, that they were ready to aid. And this is what he does now, where you are the first responder, you are the first person that are going to be on the scene. And obviously, for the police officers, I mean, your heart just swells with pride for them. They're getting the accolades they deserve. The teachers deserve just as much.
I think you're absolutely right. And again, having been as a reporter placed in situations where chaos is all around you, and they don't happen maybe once or twice, 3 times in a long career. I know that I was freaking out, and that I did not have the presence of mind to do certain things. And in that fog, as they call it, the fog of war, I made mistakes. And to watch that these teachers, because they'd been through the training, did everything perfectly. To see these police officers who are, I mean, everybody who's looked at these videos comes back with the same conclusion. The experts and the novices alike, they all say, textbook performance by the police officers. The dispatchers, textbook performance by them. I don't know how you do that when everything around you is nothing but chaos. I mean, they're literally firing shots into the doors of these classrooms, and the teachers were still keeping their wits about them, and they stuck to their training, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. I don't know how you do that.
No, and it, your heart just wants to embrace the people of the Covenant School community, and more broadly the Nashville community, and we hope that we learn from it, and we hope that we do everything we can possibly do to prevent the next attack. But sadly, I mean, this and I know this, the reality is that we live in a country that believes and loves liberty and freedom and independence enough that we recognize that there is a sacrifice that we give up for the freedom and liberty that we have, and that sacrifice is the danger that mentally unstable people have the ability to do these types of things. That doesn't mean that we give up the liberties that we have, but we just have to galvanize ourselves to the reality that we've got to be prepared against the next attack.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so much that I think will be coming out probably next week or beyond that will maybe perhaps help us understand this, because we're trying to make sense out of something that is absolutely nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. Normal people don't think this way. Normal people don't do these kinds of things. I want to know the rest of the story. Now, one thing, though, just to get political for a moment, because that's what we do. Ultimately, we always turn back to the political, don't we? I can't tell you how dispiriting it is, at least to me, that so instantaneously it goes political. I mean, we don't even have the crime tape up yet at the scene, and the president is already making comments about needing, gun legislation and doing away with what he calls assault weapons. And then, within a day or two, they're knocking down the door at the state capitol and making, a spectacle of the whole situation to make their point. There's nothing wrong, of course, with protesting, but again, they turned it into something of a riot. And now we have, the transgender community up in arms about this as well. I don't know, whether the transgenderism had anything to do with it, but certainly they're making a lot of noise right now. Can't we just have a moment? We're still burying these people.
Well, and it struck me yesterday, Brian, that we have allowed the transgender community is one thing. People with gender dysphoria is one thing, and I'm not suggesting that all of those individuals in totality have any sort of issues like this particular woman had. But I would say that people with mental issues, people with issues within themselves, are searching for things to give them some sort of solace or some sort of comfort, and I think in some circumstances, they're seeking out an identity group. And the transgender community there's nothing that we can say about them without being considered transphobic or somehow against that group of people. And I think certain individuals are seeking out that community as a refuge, and they are shielded from some of the mental illness that they have. And I hope that makes sense to folks. I'm not suggesting that the totality of the group is in any way mentally ill, but there are mentally ill people within that group that need help.
Yeah,
obviously.
And there's so much to be said about it. But I mean, some people actually believe that that folks who are going through that may be somewhere on the autistic spectrum, and that they find, because they're awkward socially, they find people that will support them, and that's part of what happens here. Who knows? But again, I'm hoping that we get some answers. It is now 49 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Well, it is that spring season, and it's time to get out there and do some work in the yard. And DT McCall's is going to help you out with their spring Cub Cadet mower sale, which is going on at the Lebanon store through tomorrow. They have the big sale going on there through April 1st, which is tomorrow. And so you might want to get up there and take advantage of that. DT McCall & Sons, ranked as the top Cub Cadet dealer in the United States, or one of them. They have Cub Cadet riding mowers, 42, 60, 72 inches for those large areas, as well as Cub Cadet walk-behind mowers for the smaller lots. And when you purchase a Cub Cadet mower from DT McCall's, you will be getting access to their in-house service department. It's nearly impossible to find better mower service anywhere else. With a large selection of Cub Cadet mowers, a free delivery, and an in-house service department, it's an easy choice. Let me just add, I love my Cub Cadet zero-turn mower. It's my very favorite piece of equipment. I think you'll love yours as well. There'll be other sales coming up, but right now, get on up to the Lebanon store sometime tomorrow and learn more about all the things they can do for your home at dtmccalls.com. Us, thank you so much for being with us. The great one, Mark Levin, is coming up next. Matt Murphy, thank you for being the first official guest here at the home studio here at Stately Wilson Manor. And now let's you and I take the commute over to my house. It'll be all of about 35 or 40 seconds. And I think we have a wonderful meal plan. Thank you so much. Be back here Monday at 3 o'clock.